Thank you everyone
Oh,
for joining another Mantras with Monsters. LG, take it away.
let's go, man. Happy Sunday, guys. This is great. We got some good football on. So please, if you hear the background, whatever, my bad. But we've got a little bit of better football than this afternoon. But yeah, and I apologize for last week. I had a little dinner party, little stuff going on with the family, and I wasn't able to join. So my regards. But what a cool pod, man. We had some stuff going on in there for sure.
If you
uh,
you went back and listened to it.
oh yeah, of course. Yeah, there's too many people talking about it for me not to. I was kind of aggravated that I wasn't able to be there for whatever reason. But yeah, great pod, guys. You know, there was a little bit of drama, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and yeah, I think it went really well overall. So good job there. Hopefully, Bird and Tiff can iron some things out and just be good moving forward. Those guys were going at
Uh,
it there for a second, but anywho, what do we got on the plate for this week, man? I know we had some polar finals going on this week. I know we had GC just this weekend. So I know there's a lot of fun stuff going up there in you guys' newer nations. Probably a lot better than what's going on here in like the first couple of brackets. Um, you got anything to add over there, Holbrook? Who'd you guys have, if you don't mind me asking? Anybody that gave you a fight?
yeah, it was tough, man. I mean, it was too much. We fought 732, so they were the
Oh,
victors.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let me hear about that.
We didn't really know what to do because we thought they wouldn't really go hard in the kind of preseason, but they showed up and they're great. You know, they're the champs for a reason. So they took round one and two and built enough of a gap that they really didn't have to care about the last round. So
Got it.
it's
And
kind
did
of
you
like,
guys try to give them a run for their money? You know, were you guys like prepared that first round, or like what was that kind of looking like? Or it's prelims, kind of save the bag. You know, if you don't, what does that look?
because of our players, we knew that we would be better in two and three, and so most of our C41 skipped the first round.
Got it. Got it.
And which I don't even know. I mean, I would probably want some
Did you play
strategy
round
advice
one?
from you. No, no, I didn't. I purposefully sat out because they had all their bigs from 732. So,
Yeah, it's
what do you
better
even?
for you.
Yeah, what do you do in that case when they're probably stronger than you? They're definitely more organized. It makes sense to just keep all of your bigs for like two and three if they send them in one, right?
Well, I mean, I guess it's really all, depending on situations because as you experience, right? They got so many points in round one, and you didn't get enough points in round one that it didn't matter what they did in round three or what you did in round three for that matter. So it's one of those things where you can kind of risk a little. By doing things like that, because sometimes you're almost better off, even if it was like, let's use yourself for instance. I've seen nations like 373, pop like one good player in, just to, piss everybody off. Get them off their thing, pop them out of the towers, or if you can, just five fleet and try and steal a couple of thousand points here and there. I'm sure the boys from 621 can tell you that a couple hundred points means a lot. And guys like Barry, that lost to GC by like 200 points. Like they, those points mean a lot. So if you can come up with a strategic plan, like 425, for instance, like we're not strong in round two. However, we have a lot of players that show up in round two. So long as they can go in there and kind of steal some points, and they're told not to go to the center. Like usually the Asian population in our globe, depending on the matchups, obviously, but usually there's a pretty dominant, group in round two, regardless of the nations that we're facing. Using this week, for instance, we just played 465. So they have a pretty heavy Asian, dominance over there, and they showed up in round two and they got their 45,000 points. Or not 45,000. I take that back. I think they got like 30,000 or 32,000. But my second crew, Mott over there, they were able to steal 15,000 or something along those lines just by showing up with a good amount of people. Now, mind you, they do have some strong cities over there. I don't want to take anything away from them, but at the end of the day, they can go in there and steal some points. The year that we won our first GC, or the season, I should say, I want to say that Mott went in there against a fully tooted and booted 373 in round two, when they're expecting to, get, 45,000 points. They were able to hold them to like 38,000 or something along those lines. And they were able to steal like, I don't know, 7 or 8,000 points during that round. And it was definitely the difference maker for, us having an easier round three, So I think it's all situational, but for you guys personally, I mean, like I probably would have, tactically done exactly what you did just to see what they're going to do. Because you're going to see them in the finals, and or in the in the semis, depending on how you guys rank per se. I will say that if you stay in the top four, you're not going to fight the top four. So it sounds like 732 is, going to be in that top four. So if you don't want to fight them till the finals, then you stay in the top four. But if you think you can pluck them during the semis or something like that, where they're not going to get help or, whatever the matchups are looking like, that would kind of be the time to pounce. So I always depends on who's kind of going at it. But you can play with the ranks just because the top 16 and the first four won't play each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so the problem with me coming in the first round was I could have created some chaos, but I mean, I went the second round with our other 41s, and it was still like a rough battle. I mean, we could take the core, but not necessarily hold the core. We definitely, we got beat, so obviously they were holding more than us. And so, I mean, if that's what happened while I was there with all the other, I mean, Vegas was around too. It's not like we were short anyone.
Yeah.
So they're
congrats
they're
on
really
that, by
strong.
the way.
I think
Man,
I
that
could
is
have
so
not.
great for 785. Congrats on that, by the way. I'm glad that guy woke up for whatever reason. It's probably because you burned his ass, and he's like, you know what, man? They built the team good enough to fucking burn my ass. Let me see if I want to play again. So whatever turn of events that happened, man, that's really cool that those cities are active again.
Thanks, man. It's just the 2 and 3 for now. We still don't even know what's going on with 2 of those cities. This game is funny, man. There's always like a mystery with some whale that's maybe logging in, maybe not. We're just trying to take the best of it. But like, even if it's not him and somebody's just driving 2 more C41s, that's a big win for us. So we're super
Fucking
happy.
A, right? It is. Hell yeah. Especially those cities, man, being dormant forever. I bet you it's going to start to change some of your, not to go off topic, but it'll start to change some of your guys' matchups and things like that with those cities being in alliance now.
Yeah, we're a lot stronger now, just battle power wise. I mean, both of those 2 alone is, I think, 800 million. So our head of state matchup is definitely different. I don't know any of these nations. We're fighting a bunch of 500 nations.
Very cool. Very cool. Who's you guys pick this week? Do you know yet?
Man,
Yeah, you did.
I didn't even look, man. I'm sorry.
Well, it looks like we were able to dodge the finals bullet of 255 and 785. So I'm kind of happy there for our pockets over in 425. So that's cool. We did get a pretty heavily, whale inundated finals for us, though. We got 555 and a couple of other, guys that are gonna be fun, I'm sure. And I think we also got 732, if I remember correctly, from the screenshot I sent you, right? Is that what I got? Here,
It was on the screen. 732, yeah.
Yeah, and then that other 726, I think, is that like Chinese nation, I think, over by you guys, right?
Yeah, they just got another merge. They're really good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they're fun. We played them a handful of weeks ago. I remember that. A little squishy, but they're fun. those whales are definitely strong, to say the least. You know.
Where are you guys ranked now? Because I saw that you're the highest ranking in your grouping.
I don't have the answer to that question off the top of my head after last week. I'm sure we went down a little bit. But let me take a look. I'll log in real quick while we're chatting.
I have it on
Man,
the
are the
screen.
Bears gonna win this game, dude? If the Bears win this, dude, I'm gonna freak out. This is crazy. Let's see here.
That's crazy that
No,
you guys are ranked
we dropped
217,
significantly. We're down to 217, brother.
but you're still ranked number one in your matchup. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I don't get the camel contraptions, that's for sure. It doesn't tell me what rank the other teams are if I click on them either.
But you can tell from your badges that you're ranked higher than them. Sorry.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Give them a little go. 555 and us usually have a good go at it, and then you can add the other. So we got two Chinese nations, two regular nations. So that'll kind of be fun, I think. I'm gonna have to reach out to some dudes over at 732 to make sure we take the Chinese to Pound Town.
Yeah. Archie's in one of your Discord servers.
Oh yeah. I'll be giving them an at over in that monsters chat.
I'm not very excited that we've taken your spot as 255's punching bag.
I am, honestly. I'm very pleased with said outcome. Yeah, I'm very okay with that. Those guys are so tough, but again, just like we talked about a few weeks ago, man, it's going to become a point where, you're going to just reach out to Baby, and you guys are going to split the board and take everything from everybody else, until somebody else comes along, that wants a piece. So I feel like that you're in a very similar position that we were, because when we fought 255, and I'm sure plenty of the 255 guys on here, I mean, outside of maybe one or two matches, the spend wasn't heavy. I mean, mind you, if there were other enemies there, I would say that 425 did a majority of the heavy lifting. But when there was others, man, 255, they do their thing. At the end of the day. So it wasn't expensive for us to go get, 17, 20,000 points to their 32,000 or whatever it was for essentially for free. Not for free, but, a little weight on the whale's shoulders by blocking people off. But for the most part, like Baby loves a good deal. I think everybody knows that.
Yeah. I think I've made clear that I don't really ever want to do deals, but with 255, it's a no-brainer. It's not a deal. It's literally just I'm not going to attack.
It's just saving a bag and not looking like an asshole blowing a bag,
But I think it's also the right polar strategy. Obviously, last time we had you on one side and them on the other. We're not going to attack them, and so there's only one way to go. You know what I mean? And it'll be the same thing this week. There's no reason for us to attack them, no matter where we are. We have 989 again. Those guys are strong. And we have 1086, so they're ranked higher than both us and 989. So I don't feel like it takes someone crazy to figure out the strategy. Stay away from 255, fight the next best alliance, and try to pull a second.
Yeah, I mean the downfall to that is your rank's going to drop as you continue to see 255. That's the downfall to that scenario, and where we got frustrated, right? Like again, we were seeing them like 7 out of 8 weeks, like for a couple of seasons, and it was frustrating that like we couldn't do anything, and that's when we kind of went on the tour and went around and checked out 621 and checked out 56, did all that. And, we kind of came back to mommy over here with 255 and, because it's cheaper, like honestly, it's cheaper to play 255 than it is to play fucking 904 or 567, so, it's just the better feat, in my opinion. And if you're matched up with them and, depending on the matchups, clearly like they have, loyal relationships as well. So, don't expect too much, but if it's you and a bunch of fucking randos with 255, like there's no reason for you guys to really do much. You slow walk a couple of times to the center, everybody gets some merit, blah blah blah, and you kind of just mosey along to the next thing, you know. But the
Yeah,
crappy part about that scenario is I do believe your rank will drop if you continue to take second over and over. If ranking's like a thing, you know.
I think you're
Because
absolutely correct. I mean, there's no other choice, right? I can't convince 100 people to switch time slots. It's just not going to work.
yeah,
Um,
it's exactly. So you kind of, you're almost left to finding, and I hate to say this because I know how much you love Polar, but you're almost left to finding a new event to focus on so long as you're seeing 255 all the time. Now that might not be a KPI that is a weekly, thing just yet, but with the addition of Vegas and if, Vegas' cities, I should say, and the potential of his other cities, coming to light, anytime in the near future, it's very probable that you guys are going to see them, similarly to the way we did, um, with matchups. Probably not in the first 3 or 4 weeks, but very likely in the latter 4 weeks. So
yeah, I heard 567 is going to move to this slot next season. I hope they do. I think that would be super fun just to
yeah, I'm
watch.
gonna hang around just for that. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hang
Um,
around just for that. I'm gonna take lasts, and we're gonna sit. 425 is gonna sit around with their popcorn, and we're gonna watch
yeah.
and see whatever that looks like. I hope I'm in that matchup for whatever reason. Um, and for both parties, we will not be engaging. Like you can have our towers, as a matter of fact. I don't even care. I just want to watch.
Yeah. There's a
you
lot of
know?
tough matchups too. KGK has 567 God again. 858 has 799 and a couple more. It's too many to remember, but it feels like the top four are going at each other in all the time slots or something like that. I don't know how the matchmaking works either.
Yeah, I mean, but like Camel's not dumb. Clearly they're gonna put like at least two or three of the top quote spending alliances, participating alliances together. I mean, it is the final weeks, the final week, I guess you call it, or whatever. So I do think it's a thing. And Camel's not dumb. They want you to spend a little extra cash. I'm sure that's why they dropped a couple of Chinese nations over on us. Whatever. So at the end of the day, like again, Camel ain't dumb by any discern. So you put yourself in a position to, kind of do your best with whatever little matchups you got. Like I'm anxious to see if 621 will try to give 567 a run for their money in the final, but I think it'll really depend on like what number their towers are and stuff like that. If anybody's really going to spend any money on this, like we know 567's coming regardless of what their tower number is. But 567, if they were like maybe like a 9 or something like that, maybe, or excuse me, 621, if they were like a 9 or something like that, might push them to, give 567 a run for their money. I do think that if 621 doesn't, kind of puff their chest up to 567 at some point here in the very near future, I think it's going to become an issue. So those new guys over there in 621 that are, kind of took over those cities and, whatever, like you guys need to, puff your chest up in some regard here in the near future, or them boys are going to just keep it all coming, you know?
I assume they're pretty GC focused right now. I don't know anything, but that's my guess given history.
Yeah, 100%. I was talking to Bird a week or so ago, and I feel like he said something along those lines. Um, and so, it's probably very likely. But even then, I feel like, as much as Tip says that, they kind of play GC by ear, if they see an opportunity, them boys are going to pounce. And so they need to be prepared for everything over there because that little rivalry for sure. But, the weekly matchups. But, 567 is coming down to this time slot to give 255 a run for their money, apparently. So there's
Just just as a little bit of an update there. So both 567 and 621 have both changed their time slot this week. I'm not saying who changed it first and who's running away from who, but they're both in the same time slot, and it's both a different time slot to what they were in last week.
That's pretty funny. It's great. But so they're
It's,
seeing each other again regardless.
Yeah, so they're both in the early time slot as opposed to the I don't know what they're normally in the second or the third one. But it's generally a much weaker time slot. So instead of it being like them two plus 910 plus 564, it's basically them two plus 595, which is one of the lock nations that people might know, and then three other nations, older nations who aren't particularly ranked higher. So,
That's
like I said,
hilarious.
I don't know who ran away from who, but they've both met each other again.
I heard before all of this, I had heard that 621 is, because it's changed. They're not sure which time they're going to play yet. So I don't know that it was necessarily any type of 567 situation. I think it might be they're going to try to figure out what time spot works best for them. That's what I heard.
What-
It's not my
Yeah.
pig, not my farm. I don't want any heat.
What I do know,
I love it.
yeah, what I do know is it's been acknowledged that the contests are quite expensive and quite time consuming, quite resource, to the point of, and I think I've said this before, that these kind of premier matchups are great, but they're not maybe great every week because if they take a lot of consumables,
That's
then
not
people-
sustainable. It's never
Yeah.
sustainable for. I mean, shit. Just us going up against 785 and Polar a couple of weeks ago drained the bags of a handful of people. And I told these motherfuckers to stand down 5 minutes in. So it's like there is a very big opportunity to fucking literally. You only get a couple million troops. You're fucking buzzing around with a million-sized fleet after these people, bust up the charge button. You're running around with million fleets, and you only got 2 million fucking troops. Like how many heals is that? Whales, right? Like I couldn't even tell you because I have so many, but like at the end of the day, that's a lot of pressure for a lot of people. And to do it week in, week out, man, it is 100% not sustainable.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
not.
I said this. I feel like if those kind of premier matchups were maybe like every 3 weeks, then maybe that's doable. But every week, 255 every week.
But then you can't play
567.
anything else, Clue, right? Or you can't play anything else.
Yeah.
Every 3 weeks, you're playing that one event. That's it.
Yeah, but I think the problem at the moment though, you've got people are trying to do everything right. Like they're trying to have that big event each week. 255 are different, right? They win and they don't spend. But for the rest of us, if you want to win Polar, you got to spend. If you want to win Wasteland, you know what? Actually, a lot of the time you don't have to spend because the other nation just doesn't show up, even if they're a big nation. If you got any close contests in GC, you got to spend. So they've either got to make stuff more infrequent, or you just got to not show up. And that's what I feel 567 or 621 we're trying to do this week was effectively try and go into a cheaper time slot, but they both ended up doing the same thing as each other, and back to square one.
I kind of wonder, I'm not even sure that I would say wonder. I kind of think the business plan is to create so many events that you'd have to start making bag related choices. So then people can dominate events that other people are going to deprioritize. Like we went pretty chill the first week against LG. And then because we did that, we still had a bag and we went strong last week. If we would have been meeting him again in Polar, I don't even know what we would have done. I assume we probably would have just said, whatever, we're idiots and this is our event, so YOLO. But the bags would have been beyond empty. GC's not even a consideration. Like you have to make trade-offs. You can't play everything. You're going to burn people out. I mean, of course, LG can play everything, but his middle of the road player and my middle of the road player and anyone's middle of the road player cannot play 4 events. I just don't believe it's possible. I mean, am I wrong?
I completely agree, but I think it's also the same with kind of Max City, right? There was a point 6 months ago, 12 months ago, where being close to Max was achievable, being close to playing every event was achievable, but now we're actually going into this situation where, so much stuff's being released, and so many events are being released that even you guys like LG, you big spenders, there's compromises have to be met.
It's just problematic because you can't tell people not to spend. You know,
Dude, you took the words out of my mouth, Holbrook. Thank you.
I cannot stand. There's nothing I hate more than when someone shares a city in Iron Blood for defense. Because if you really want us to defend, you know we have to spend speed. And why are we spending any speed in Iron Blood? That's ridiculous. But it happens every Iron Blood, and then you look over there and you're like, okay, he has 6 reigns. All right, we're playing Iron Blood and spending speed for I have no idea what reason. But you can't tell people how to spend their money.
Got a drop. We got an Elite War against 550. Catch you in a minute.
Yeah, all you can do is lead people in the right direction, right? So we try to get people to focus on a couple of events, but then we also always fall for GC. We played GC again. We did get 159 people in one round, which is a record.
I was
for
just
us.
going to ask you that. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
So after only in one round?
It was like one. I don't know the lowest round. It was probably like 119. I don't really know, but it was like 119, 139, and 153 or something like that.
So do you think those are good numbers fresh off of Emerge in GC?
These guys didn't play GC before because they were, it's 667. They were in the 621 time slot. There's already a lot of heat there. It didn't make sense. So I'm happy because, convincing a whole nation to play an event they haven't historically played is tough. I think GC is just so expensive, and playing with alliances that haven't played it for years is tough. I want to change all of their mind to actually just let's focus on participation. Let's try to put like a 200 up there and see what happens. We don't think we can win after facing 732 and knowing our limitations. So I hope they change the success criteria to let's just try to see 200 people in one round and then go from there.
Yeah, that very well could do it. But yeah, I'd like to see better numbers than that from you guys, based off of, your guys' trajectory as a number one alliance over there at SAD. But the rest of your nation is still something. You guys let them live, so they got to do something. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and our numbers are way higher than the competition. The competition is like crazy. Even like 732 didn't need much more, but they didn't need any more, right? They won. But their participation was lower. Everybody else's participation was worse. I feel like overall it's pretty bad. So
to
I don't know,
stick on the
that could-
GC topic, who is above the bracket above you guys? Is the Chinese going to win that one? The freshly merged nation?
That's for Light Show. Sorry.
No, the Chinese guys are in the next one up from that. We're kind of in 796 and 799 went down with Holbrook, so they're no longer in our bracket, so we don't have to fight against them. Really, just looking at things, it looks like our only real super serious competition is probably 877 or 827. We had 817 and 833 this last Friday, and we max plundered all but the round 2. So 833 did really good in round 2.
So essentially what you just said is your bracket's easy.
I don't want to say that. It's not as hard as it was last season. Let's put it that way.
And you don't have 904 yet.
No. They're 904 gets to they get to play with that new merged Chinese nation.
Got it. And how many nations are away from 904 dropping down to you guys? They got to be close.
3 or 4 maybe. Like that new Chinese nation is like right on the edge. We barely missed them.
Got it.
So yeah, if we get some merges after this GC, 904 may drop down. So we'll see.
That'll be fun when that happens.
Yeah, we want a rematch, but if but if the Chinese come with 904, then we may have to team up with 904 to beat the Chinese. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be crazy, pretty crazy this season. I'm anxious to see what 910 and 904 do against the Chinese.
I feel like 904 is gonna beat that ass, but
You think so? I mean, so last season,
904 pound for pound is so much stronger than their top alliance.
so last season 904 lost to 910. 910 just brought their A+ game, and
Yeah, 910's been quiet, but I vaguely remember Save saying that they weren't trying to repeat, and I feel like he's kind of like a stand-up guy.
yeah. So we'll see what happens this season. I don't know if they're
So I
gonna
only
try-
kind of left 910, just to clarify, everybody listening. I only left 910 out of that because Saif said a handful of pods ago that they weren't, going this GC. So 910's banger out there, blah, blah, blah. So I'm almost in my mind assuming that 904 was going to win this season because I fought that other Chinese nation a couple of times, and man, 904 will win every battle against them outside of like a couple of the monsters running around clearing towers.
So you fought the new merged nation?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
okay.
what is it? 98989. What is it?
It's like 895 or something like that.
Didn't we just play them in Polar Hawkage? And are my fucking nations up here? I feel like we just played them in Polar. Maybe not this last week, but like in the beginning of the seasons. I'll have to pull it up here while we're chatting. I'm vaguely certain that we did.
I'm pretty sure that you did as well. And I believe that you described them as squishy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So with that said, it's like, mind you, they have like 3 cities or 4 cities that are pretty strong.
Yeah.
Pretty great whales, but the rest of them, man, are a bunch of nothing. And that's not the case in 904.
No.
Sure, they got some whales over there, blah blah blah, but their middle half is like really really tight. So I feel like they'll just win every battle unless like there's no participation or something along those lines. But if 910 is gonna go give it a run for their money, then yeah, like that's a whole nother conversation. So
Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm not really sure. I know 904 has really climbed the ranks in the EW lately. I don't know if
I
they
love
like-
it, man. I absolutely love it. I think
Yeah.
they're taking some advice, man. Reaching out, touching people, getting some of those good matchups against teams that really shouldn't be ranked where they are.
Yep.
There's a good amount of people in that top 30. That you can just reach out and touch pretty much at any point in time, and probably be an easy battle for some of these guys. Even you guys and like 858, 785. I've been pushing Holbrook to do the same. It's like, dude, reach out and touch some of these guys, man. Give them a go. And I think it'll be really fun. But yeah, 904 has been ripping up the ranks, man. What are they ranked right now? I didn't even look after today.
I want to say they're like in the top 15, but I'm looking.
They're coming for 10. I got it pulling up too. They're coming for 10. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're 13th currently.
Yeah,
I'm
the
trying-
points are only the points are sub 1,000 for top 10. So they're like literally whatever, less than 1,000 points out of top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if they reach out and touch somebody, I think that they might just go ahead and grab it with one battle. But a couple of those guys in that top 15 ain't no easy peasies,
No.
But I think they
No.
can grab 635. I think 286. We had 286 this past week in Elite War, and not today, but last week. And man, I love those guys. They just make you think. I love
Yep.
those guys. They start the show with like 50 or 60, And then they're like, oh, let's have some fun with these guys. The next thing you know, there's like 96, and they're splitting three ways and they're doing all this dude, fucking shout out 286, man. Just really, really well led. And I always see them on Facebook and stuff like that, sharing reports, banging up on big old cities with like 75 plus. So I really like that shit, man. So yeah, if you give 286 a run for their money, 904, be prepared for some good strategy. Win or lose, you'll learn something. That's for sure. Yeah, there's definitely some good ranking movement. Even what was the nation, Archie's nation that you just fought? They're ripping up the ranks too. I saw last week. They're top 20 now, somewhere up in there, unless they lost today. I just closed the app, or I'd say what it is. But I feel like it's top 15 or 16. So those guys are ripping up the ranks too. So I love it, man. I love that the newer, call it middle nations, these seven to 900s, are putting together some really good teams and fucking doing some things. There's some fucking really cool nations out there. I love it.
We're up around 50 right now, and we're taking your advice and enjoying a bunch of challenges.
Yeah, those will stop eventually. Like I'm sure 858 and 904 can tell you they don't get challenged much. After the 555 ordeal with 904, like that ain't gonna happen anymore. I think everybody learned their lesson there. But I heard the rematch lasted sub 5 minutes. Just to throw that out there. Shout out Tip and guys out there helping them out.
Yeah, we dropped way down. We had some other stuff going on, and we dropped way down. It was just really hard to maintain that top 20. We just had some monsters coming after us, and it's like, do we spend on this or what do we do here? So
who was coming after you, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, 567 came for us, and 904 beat us, and we lost to 564. Who else? Let me look real quick.
We had them this morning.
564.
Yeah, PAP or pound for pound, whatever.
Yeah, pound for pound, and we had 732. I think that's where Archie's at. You mentioned them earlier, and we lost to them as well.
Yeah, they're ranked 16. I just looked at them. They're ranked 16.
Yeah. They beat us pretty quickly. So we'll get back up there.
So what is that? What do you think that is? How are these nations kind of just beating you really quickly? Is it like they're whales per se? I know 732 is kind of thick. Them boys got some big dicks over there. But I feel like you guys are you still getting the participation you've kind of always had since you guys have been pretty, doing your thing?
We are, but we kind of messed up a little bit, and we tried to do something and moved. We shuffled some people around, and that locked some of our top 20 guys out of EW for 10 days. So that screwed us on like 2 or 3 EWs. So we lost on those. So just some stuff like that, and then the holidays and whatnot. So we dropped down a little bit, but we'll get up there again.
Very nice.
Yeah, well, it'll be a slow
Yeah,
climb.
it's tough, man. Like, and I'm sure Holbrook can attest to this. When you guys start getting a name for yourselves, blah blah blah, everybody wants to come, put their foot on the back of your neck, So kind of got to deal.
It's also the 7-day thing. The 7-day thing is super annoying. If you try to do anything tricky for any other event, you got nothing for 7 days from a big city. It's pretty annoying.
Trust me, man. I'm aware. That's when 555 triple banged me in fucking Elite War last year.
Yeah.
When we had everybody moving around for GC finals and this, that, and the third, they fucking challenged us 3 times. Pissed me off, man. Fuck.
I think 7 days is outdated, man. They should change that to like 24 hours or 3 days or something. It's crazy that you can have someone in for so long just for like you pull one trap in Void and now you lose like a top city for what, at least one elite war.
I mean,
don't
I think I think I tend to agree with it only because it makes you have a certain team and prepare, you know, and you can't do wonky tricks to, you know, go steal a spot in the top 10 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you really got to earn it. So I kind of respect that, you know, a little bit from the camel fucking assholes. That they, you know, keep us honest, you know, because I'm a junkie of junkies, man. If there is a way for me to junkie stunt some shit and fucking challenge somebody with an hour's notice and have, you know, 99 people online and, you know, go give 255 a run for their money with an hour's notice, like, you know, like, I don't know. I think that would be, you know, a little messed up and not a true, you know, a test to what, you know, the theoretical team can do, you know. Specifically with Elite Wars and maybe GC, you know, maybe that's just the old artsy fartsy of me, you know, because these are OG events. But I'm still a boomer, man. So I still, you know, like those two events. And I feel
only
like they're
that
still the
way.
two events that hold the most weight, you know,
I only
regardless
feel
of
the
all.
way.
We have
Sorry,
Woody on the podcast. I'm sure he has limited
Alright.
time, so
Hey, Woody, man, what up? What up?
Oh, busy day at work. Real busy. We had Elite War today against 405, and I'm gonna give them props, man. Although we did win barely, they showed up like 80 something people, and we had like 39. They got some strong people over there at 405.
So how did it go? Did you win or lose?
We won. I recorded it, so when I get time, I'll commentate it. I'll post it. But it was fun.
nice.
It was fun to play with like no speeds and no gold. That's what happens when you get challenged. Like, what's that?
I was just going to ask if you seem to be spending a lot of time in 904. Is that like a second home to you now?
It kind of is like a second home. I'm not gonna lie. Right now, 736 is trying to get a merger, so we're not gonna, you know, go hard on certain events, like especially like GC. So, you know, 904 is kind of like a second home to me.
Gotcha.
Other than like certain people that are in the nation that like to talk in nation chat. I learned to stay out of that nation chat.
Yeah. Are you talking about someone that happens to be named after a horse? Or are
You're
you
breaking up.
talking
What'd you say?
I'm sorry, are you talking about someone that happens to be named after a horse, or are you talking about the other nation chat guy?
There's a
904
couple
has
people.
904 has a couple.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to just like block them.
Don't acknowledge them.
I'm just gonna have to block them. I'm gonna take a little bit of advice that I give everyone.
Yep.
Just block them.
But you got trolls, Woody? Come on, man. You can't let trolls get to you, bro. You just smile at the trolls, dude.
No. No, I'm just gonna block the trolls, so I ain't gotta deal with it.
I ain't never met a hater doing better than me,
Troll.
bro. Feel me?
Feel you.
LG, do you post to NC?
He does.
He does. Okay.
He does.
I usually try. I used to
No.
try to.
Not for drama, but more like reports of the battles and stuff like that. He does.
Yeah, I used to try to explain like strategy and give advice, and I just found it was so toxic. I've given up recently, but I feel like it's also not good to give up. I don't honestly know what to do about it. Honestly, I was taking some inspiration from Woody. I feel like he never posted his NC at all.
I try not
very
to.
rarely
but
post to mine, that's for sure.
I try not to unless it's like important. But I mean, I do sometimes here and there. Like for instance, there was a city that got a trade, and the deal was is that the city stayed in SBT, and the guy agreed to it, but as soon as he got it, he jumped out of SBT. Which, so at that point, I'm like, well, you broke the agreement. I mean, I get it. So like, but if it gets burned, I'm gonna look my head's gonna look the other way.
Yeah, after our merge, I just dealt with too many, I don't know, too many posts of not worth responding to. So it just felt overwhelming. Maybe it's also just like a smart
Yeah.
pattern to stay out of NC for the first 3 months after a merge or something like that. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, being one of the leaders of your nation, the only time you really need to post in nation chat is like the new rules to the nation. That's. Other than that, I mean, you're just going to get involved with fire. You're going to add fuel to the fire of everyone else.
I didn't want to post to like argue about anything, but I tried to post about, we had a discussion about troop limits. We had a discussion about void strategy. I wanted to talk about GC strategy, but like, it just seems like nothing constructive comes from NC. So it feels like a great place to put information out where you can attract people that I guess maybe will mail you. So I feel bad staying off of it, but I've just noticed when I'm on it, it's just so negative and ridiculous that I don't know that it's a good thing for anyone, any whale to deal with, to be honest. Or not whale, but nation leader. Because you're always
Yeah.
going to get hate as a nation leader, right?
Always. As for Johnny Ringo, I don't know if Banta showed up. I guess I'll have to rewatch and play the recording.
Banta's such a great troll. He's definitely got a city in 425. He loves to talk to my boy Coil.
Yeah,
Yo,
it
are
seems
we-
like whenever posted in your nation chat, he's the first person to post it in my group.
Do you guys know, are we getting GC chat back or is Cross Nation chat just over? We killed it?
I think it got killed.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll kill the Starlight ceremony too.
Well, I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, you figure people change their picture on that Starlight to a sexy looking woman, and all of a sudden it's really a dude, just so they can get those rockets. So the red rockets like dogs in them. It's all
Yeah, but
the
I'm
time.
just saying, like, if you're gonna be Cross Nation, you
The
can talk
Red
shit about them.
Rockets.
That's exactly what they are.
I never got.
Yeah, but
that.
I am anxious to see if they take away the Starlight chat. So everybody listen to the podcast. If and when the Starlight chat comes out, just everybody roast the GC about GC and start posting cities for sale. That's what we do. Oh, and ask for mergers. That's right. That's right. We got to ask for mergers.
Yeah. Ask for mergers. Or do what happened for GC chat. Go ahead and post it. No, I'm not gonna say that. Never mind.
So Woody, what are the priority events in 736 these days, if any?
We do EW, and we try to do Polar. Wasteland is definitely we try to do Wasteland, but there's a lot of strong nations out there. A lot of strong nations, and right now, being that we're confined to two alliances, some people will join the second alliance because they don't want to be as active, or so on and so forth. So we're at that point of at least EW. We're trying. We'll go into GC and we'll just play around like the big boys and just have fun, knowing we're not going to win, but we're got to give some fun. Like K got burned during last GC round 1 by 767.
Hey, you guys are going to love this. Check this out. Woody, did you see what I sent you the other day from Whatnot?
Oh yes, I did.
Bro, how small of a world is that?
Very small.
So check this out, guys. Not to go on a complete side tangent, but you guys remember Hellfish, right? From Woody's Nation, the one that got burned a handful of months ago. Kind of quit
Yep.
the game, whatever.
Yep.
So you guys know I'm a big silver and gold collector for whatever. I like metals, and so there's a big boom going on right now. So I've been watching there's an app called Whatnot. It's like live auctions and shit like that. Long story short, I'm scrolling through these separate different live auctions, and every time a person enters the room, it'll put your name, and my name on the app is Lead God, right? I use the same name kind of everywhere I go. And I get into this one little auction site, and name of the guy's place is Hellfish, and he sees my name. He goes, "Oh, Lead God, man! I used to play this game, and there was a Lead God there, and he was the blah 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 blah." And
I just
are you the same guy? And so whatever. We chatted in the chat for a second, but I just thought it was the smallest world ever that. I'm on a completely different app in a completely different vertical. And, this guy's up there, selling gold and silver and shit like that. Super cool. We message each other. We were shooting the shit for a little while in the app there. Look at that. Hellfish. 790 Hellfish.
Yeah. I mean, if he's selling gold and silver and he's making profit, I mean, that's his gig. Like, my gig is the whole YouTube thing on a side gig. That's his gig right there. So, like, if you guys are,
I'm sure he's killing
that,
it, dude. Fucking bro. It's nuts.
If he's
nuts.
killing it, he needs to give that city to Woody to hook him up.
I think he mentioned in this chat that he needs to sell the city. He mentioned that.
See, when he was trying to sell it, he wanted 10 grand for it. I'm like, dude, it's not worth that. It's not even worth 5 grand at this point.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. He's better off holding that to the day you guys get merged.
Yeah, get it merged or when 44 drops and get money.
And 44 drops, it'll be cheaper.
Well, honestly, I've noticed a lot. Like last time 41 dropped, there were some cheap cities before, but when 41 dropped, they jumped like $1,500 just because it was a 38 at that time, and they didn't have to try from 36 on up. Now, I'm not saying that's going to always happen, but there's going to be a lot of people that are 36s and they see a 41 and then 44 drops. They're like, well, you know what? Maybe I should just start there and go. Supply and demand. Like my little brother, he sells Pokemon cards and he's on the Whatnot app too.
Unless they come back and they spend a ton of money again, won't that be like paper cities, like C44s?
Yeah, absolutely.
No equipment,
He's
on officers and stuff like that.
He's definitely fell behind because of that, because he left before the officer equipment hit. So all that new stuff is not there. So it's definitely going to be a hit, and that's why I said right now it's not. Right now, it's probably worth, honestly, probably like 3,500. It's only because of the Titans and the plane. That's about it. And that it's a 44. Has no troops. I'm pretty sure it might not have resources, or maybe it does. But that's what it's worth. But when merger comes or when 44 hits, it might just bump it. I'm just going to say like $1,000, only because 44 is here and it's the closest thing there in our nation. But right now, it's not. It's not worth it. I love Hellfish, and I'd rather him get as much money as he possibly can. But at the same time,
I watched him sell about 30. I watched him sell about 30,000 worth of gold and silver in T-minus fucking 30 minutes. So
yeah,
he's definitely doing his thing.
Oh yeah, I'll reach out to him. I'll ask him if he just wants to give it away. Because I mean, at this point,
Woody, can I suggest another option? What I would say to him is,
whatnot.
No, it got zeroed. Am I remembering that right? Not in Frenzy.
Yes. It got down to 40, and then it got zeroed in Frenzy, and it hasn't logged back in.
All right. Well, that's worse. But if it's down to 40 million and then got zeroed in frenzy, that means he's not too big to hide. Just ask him like, hey man, can somebody just run the city and do the dailies until you make a final decision? And here's why I think that benefits everybody. It's like a win-win, right? The Alliance gets it, active in events, and what I gather was that city had some power for you guys, and so it would be a help for you. He's not logging in, so he doesn't have to pay any money, which that's, if you're spending at a certain level in this game, like every time you log in, it costs money,
Yeah.
But even things like Zombie Uprise gives you officer equipment parts. Doing the dailies gets you plane XP, gets you officer equipment stuff. Like that stuff all adds up over time. And, so it won't be as kept up as it would be if he was still playing, but like it benefits everybody. Like he gets to, he doesn't cost him anything. And if it's not too large to hide, then the risk of losing that extra 40 million BP seems pretty low if you've got a competent player running it. I know I
agree.
did something similar to this with a city in 459. There was a person who was like, I'm done with the game, but I'm not ready to like let go of the city. Or they're like, I think I'm done with the game, but I'm not ready to let go. And I said, listen, like if I put a monthly card on it, it doesn't mean I have any ownership. It just like I'm paying to rent the city, basically. It's still all yours. You can cut me out at any point that you want. And like I'm just gonna try and get it up to speed, even daily recruiting to get the troops back up. You know what I mean? I'm a big proponent of this if you've got a good relationship with Hellfish and he's open to something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a good relationship with him. I do. And before I walk back to work, because I got 2 minutes left, I think that the thing is right now we're trying to keep our nation BP down. So having him at where he's at right now, if he doesn't log into it, it's going to keep it down, at least from that aspect. But I mean, the next step would be, we might have to just remove him from the alliance altogether, because that's, although he's been zero with no more troops, it still have 30 million BP, and that's 30 million BP towards, that can be 2 cities worth. You know what I mean? But unless someone comes active to it, I mean, I think that's going to have to be the next step, unless he decides to just let someone else, like you said, ghostwrite it. Maybe
Why haven't you kicked him out already? He's providing no value. He's just holding a city. What are you doing? And not to be rude, but what are you doing?
I'm aware of
Hold
that.
on hope. It's a human thing, Holbrook, to hope against hope. Okay? It's human nature.
Yeah, no, you gotta kick him out and then attack the city, and then maybe he'll come back.
Some people take that
That's what you
personally.
did.
Yeah, right. Sometimes that works. Sometimes people take that personally and they say, F off. I'm never coming back. I'm letting it rot.
I mean, I'm mostly joking around with you guys, and I know what he has to do. I'm not really trying to give advice, but if there's a city that doesn't play, it has no business in the top alliance, in my opinion, in any nation.
All right, I gotta get back to work, and before I leave, I want to just say, go Bears. All right, I'm out. Talk to you later.
Peace, Woody.
I don't know. I don't even get it, to be honest, man. I definitely would not tolerate a city that doesn't play in the top alliance. I don't know about you guys. I do hear you that like you have to be a certain way with people, so that like you have to meet people where they are, right? So if somebody has a big city, you have to meet them where they are. But if where they are is not logging in, then good luck with your sale. I hope you get all the money you can. Let me know when that city's active and it can play in our alliance again.
Yeah, I have to laugh because it's kind of a privilege to not tolerate inactive cities. Now, obviously, somebody who's gone fully dormant, that's different. But I remember there were times where I've tolerated a whole lot of inactivity from players because they showed up to a single event, It's like, well, I don't have a replacement for this player. And if they so it's like if they show up for anything, I guess I'll tolerate them not doing anything else. But it becomes a balancing act, right? Like, is there a replacement? You guys are in a situation where you've got a waiting list. I've been in scenarios in prior nations where the idea of a waiting list was laughable to us.
For sure, dude. So for sure.
Like, it's like, so the I guess.
I mean,
what I'm
but you know
saying
what?
is
I attest the wait list though to Camel not merging, man. Because
For sure.
people that are spending money in these cities, and then leaving them in the dust, man, that's not a good feeling, man. It's got to be really tough to do. Like the guys who leaving the cities behind, like the 619s or 550 style conversations. That's got to be really difficult to do. Spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in places or tens of thousands, whatever it is, and then just kind of leave it in the dust. So I really blame all that bullshit on Camel, because if they would just had a kind of a consistent merger process, whatever that would have been, it would have kept the nations lively and at least probably not have waiting lists in certain nations. But I'm super excited to see how some of these things pan out, speed it up 2 years or something like that. Be really cool to see.
Maybe you could talk about before you guys were in a situation where you had a waiting list and before you decided to make participation kind of the focus. What are the considerations that you weigh when you have a player that is showing up to some things but not at others? Like, what are you thinking about as a leader to try and turnkey this to a larger audience? People who are maybe not in a position where they've got a waiting list. They've got people who are showing up to some things but not others. What do you take into account when weighing whether to kick that person or just kind of suffer the whatever, take whatever you can get out of them in the meantime? That sounds Machiavellian, but that's not how I meant it.
No, I think you have to decide what your priority events are, and you have to just have rules and you have to stick to them. I mean, I think we've all probably seen nations where there are like nation rules, but the whales don't have to follow them. And it always goes bad. Somebody always attacks somebody's farm, and somebody says rules are rules, and then the whale says, cool, I'll kill you all. And it goes bad. I feel like you kind of treat it similar to for events. So you should just tell people what the expectation is. So in SAD, the expectation is that you play Polar and Wasteland, and you show up for the kill event. So if we have a large attack, you're going. And if you're in the large attack and you play Polar and Wasteland, you're in. And if you miss 2 of those in a row, you're out. And there's a guy who's out right now, and he missed 2 Polars in a row while there was no Wasteland. And he's not even mad. I wrote him because he's got a good city. And, all of us that run a nation, we're always writing the people with good cities that disappear from the top alliance, of course. And I was like, is everything okay? Are you leaving? Do you want me to buy your city? Like, what's going on? And he was like, nah, everything's good. It was the holidays. I missed 2 in a row. Rules are rules. I'll see you when I see you. So, like, I think that's the only way to play is just get the participation up, have constant rules for everyone. I wouldn't make... So if you're saying that someone would show up, maybe let's say to Elite War, but nothing else, I definitely wouldn't kick that person. I don't care if that's my priority event. But if Elite War is my priority event and they don't show up to that, then I would absolutely kick them, no matter who they are at this point. I just don't think there's any other way to play. Like, you're always catering to whales that just show up randomly. It's too much negative energy on the rest of the team where you show up and you're just literally sitting there going, well, I know we're either going to win or lose based on whether this guy decided to bring his city.
That's the worst, dude. That's the fucking worst.
Right?
And that's the, I see Ricky in the chat. Shout out Ricky from 357. That's my boy, man. He's out there kicking cancer's ass. But like, that's what I am in 357. Like, if I'm not there, it's dead, and da-da-da-da. And I'll say it here on the podcast. The last few weeks, man, I got the notification Friday or whatever for my screen time, on like what I've been, doing on my phone the last, week or whatever. And man, I haven't found the time to log into the game much. Jump in, do some dailies, do the event or whatever. But I found it really difficult to spend like time in the game because I got some stuff going on at work and things like that, and it's super consuming. So when I jump in, I look at the chat and and clearly my focus is 425. It's kind of always been my focus of 425. So nothing against 357. I just really don't have the time. And on the other side to that, their events are the same time as 425's events, and they kind of chose to do it that way. So it's like, fine, I can't be in two places at the same time. Like I'm not logging in on phones and iPads and all those things at the same time. It's not going to do it. So it's definitely a feeling that kind of sucks, and it's not a good feeling for anybody else when every single time, you think about whether you're going to win or lose based off of whether somebody's going to, join that day. And it's usually that person that is, flighty on whether or not they're going to enter. I talked a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, like in 425, we got a good 10 or 15 people that are hit or miss on whether or not they're going to show up on, for Elite War, So, but I'm hard pressed on kicking people because we have, 5 open seats available in our alliance, and so I feel like there's, some sort of weird game that we play with jumping over the fence and back onto the fence, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, you have to build the culture in early that they have to show up for the event. You can't kind of bolt it on later. But I guess maybe the sooner you start, the better. But for us, like if Vegas actually was back and he was like, I can make every other event or something like that, I would be like, I mean, you sound perfect for the second alliance, or you're going to get a driver. But I can't have 99 people logging on to Polar wondering if you're going to make it. Or actually, it would be worse, right? Because it's going to be 4 cities. I can't have 96 people logging on to wonder if you're going to be there. Like, we just need more. You have to have a backup driver, or I don't know. You can play in the casual alliance. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it doesn't matter. Lead God, you got an amazing city, right? Whenever it's not being played, it's fucking worth 0, right? Like, if you miss Elite War,
100%.
it is worth 0.
100%, brother. Totally agree, man. Totally agree.
You know what I mean? I'm definitely not talking any trash about anyone. I'm just saying, I don't know that there's another answer. People want to know, what do you do with whales? You don't do anything. You just do the best you can, because most of them they have other things going on. So hopefully they take a backup driver. And if they don't, you just make the best of it. And if they don't make your priority events, then like, I don't know. I'd rather have a average C36 showing up than a whale that doesn't show up for the event that's most important to me.
Oh yeah, we've said that a million times, bro. 100%. I'll take a C33, even and they're not even allowed in my nation. Over the guy who won't show up. Like bazillion %.
Hey, I've got a question it's about whales that I got earlier in the week. I'm actually curious what LGU and Holbrook would think about it. I don't know the nation number. I know that it's pretty high up. I want to say it's like 1200s or something. And the situation seems to be that the top whale wants to keep burning stuff in order to, I don't know, either achieve a merge or improve results by clearing out, lazy players. But it sounds like the rest of the alliance doesn't want to do that and wants to like try and put things back together. I mean, the real answer is, if you're having those problems early on, your nation is in a bad spot and you may need to, cut bait. But if you were trying to, if the alliance was committed to trying to see it through, what do you do with a whale who's just totally at odds with the rest of leadership?
I mean, that sounds like
I came up with an answer, but I'm curious.
You remember AQ, right?
Yes. What nation was that?
7. 709.
He was in the 4s
701.
before that. But AQ is just like that, man. He was literally that guy for like a long time. I don't know if he's changed or not, if he even still plays. I'm not really sure. But you know, like clearly this person's not a leader, you know, or I'm assuming he's not kind of a leader. He's just the whale, because that's what you call him, the whale. I think it gives a different, you know, look through the glasses, whether if it's just a whale or you know, an actual leader.
Yeah.
You know, so I would question what that, you know, what that is first. But if they're not a leader and they're just a whale out there doing dumb shit, you know, like I'll just kind of say like things probably what Holbrook would say. You know, you really need to create an environment that whale wants to play next to you. You know, whatever that looks like. And if you can't, then likely the whale will leave and be on the waiting list. You know, or you know, again, you're going to create an environment where it's fun. You know, you got to remember that the whale doesn't. Most successful men, i.e., whales. Okay, not to say that whatever women aren't out there too, but most successful men can't, you know, take the bit of losing all that often. You know, and if they're spending money at that capacity to be defined as a whale, and they're fucking losing all the time, you know, there's a problem. And typically it's a nation problem, not a whale problem. So, you know, I would tend to side with a little bit, you know, depending on how new the nation is, because ultimately you don't want to run away all the active players that can kind of rise to the occasion and, you know, spend a couple of dollars and be active, you know, and create an environment that is fun. But ultimately, man, I don't think those style of players like to lose. And that's why you see a lot of the whale style players kind of all coming together in certain nations for whatever reason.
Bird, my response would be it depends who's right. Like you described a scenario, but you didn't say who's actually right. Is the alliance right that they should preserve for some reason, or is the whale right that they should kill everyone? And my answer is very simple based on that. You don't even have to respond. If the whale is right, then I support him. And if he's wrong, then I quit the nation immediately.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I don't know the answer. I agree the answer is outcome determinative. What I got, and granted I'm getting one side of the story, right? And it's not the whale side. But what I gather is that just from reading between the lines is that the whale is kind of just killing without a real well-defined purpose. And it's more just venting frustration. And my feeling is you either need to, I think it starts with a conversation, right? You try and have the conversation with the whale and explain the reasons why you want to change. And really what you need to do in that conversation is you need to like dream together. Like this is stupid, but it's like relationship type stuff. You need to dream together with that person and talk about like, don't focus on what's going wrong, but focus on what it could look like if things went right. And I think that sort of forward thinking and positivity can be beneficial. But if that conversation fails, I think you need to then decide, are we willing to lose the whale over these rules or whatever we're trying to accomplish? And if the answer is yes, then you either quit, which I think is the preferred path, but I understand not everybody wants to do that. If you're not prepared to do that, then I think what you need to do is you need to just opt out as an entire alliance. You just say, fine, we are not going to play anything else until things change. And I think at that point, either the whale's going to quit or there's going to be some change. People don't really like being put into a corner, so I think that's a measure of last resort. But it also can underscore how serious the issue is. And, it's kind of a Hail Mary. Maybe the whale pays attention if all of you suddenly either stop logging in or stop logging in for events.
I mean, let's just say it, man. Nobody likes to spend money and lose. You know,
yeah.
like.
And if no one's going to show up to play with you, like that's not going to be fun. So I hear you, LG. I think The preferred path is to figure out a way to make it fun for everyone and be on the same page and be moving towards a better tomorrow. But what I gathered was that those conversations were attempted and were unsuccessful.
Because civil war is kind of a thing of the past, right? There's not a lot of nations in civil war that actually stay in like civil war, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
kind
don't
of a
think
thing of the past.
I don't think that's true. I think you just don't hear about it. People in Civil War aren't joining this podcast to hear about how to improve their officers. They're just killing each other.
Actually, I'm thinking of one nation in the 500s that's been in civil war for a long time. And there seems to be there's a dispute at the top, I think. That's when I think civil war gets very hard, is when there's two big cities on opposite sides of it that can afford to keep it going for a long time.
So I don't think there's any reason to have Civil War anymore. I don't mean to argue with you guys. I just don't think people in Civil War are probably logging in for strategy on a Sunday night.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
that's true.
It's probably very likely. Those guys are in 3-day shields.
That's why I'm thinking anybody who's listening, if they're in a nation with a whale that doesn't get it, I mean, I don't know. I want to be optimistic with you guys and be like, oh, maybe they'll figure something out or maybe you'll get a merge. But the reality is that whale probably has so much money that they'll never have to learn the strategy. They're going to continue to play indiscriminately and burn people, and you're just going to be miserable the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, and I think maybe that's a final point for folks who are like trying to stick it out and make it work, is like maybe you need to have like a deadline by which, hey, this is either getting better or I'm moving to another nation. Because honestly, with no merges happening, there are a lot of nations who are ready to take on players who want to get better, even if they don't have experience, right? And I'm not just talking about like the top nations that we talk about frequently with recruiting and stuff. There are a lot of nations out there that I think would be happy to take on somebody new. So maybe that's the final point. It's like at some point you gotta cut bait, because if it doesn't get better, it's gonna get a lot worse, and you're kind of at the whim of someone else quitting, which I think LG, you were the one who made this point a couple weeks ago. Like, you can't force someone to quit. Actually, it might not have been you. Maybe it was Light Show. I can't remember, but you can't force somebody to quit. You can make it really unpleasant for them to keep playing, but you can't actually force them to quit. You can't expel someone from the nation, only from your alliance, you know?
When a new nation opens, like 14, I agree with you completely, Bird. Sorry, I'm building off your idea.
Yeah.
When a new nation opens, what percentage do you think is old players that are just populating a new nation?
Very little.
You think so? Because I feel like there's always these old players that are like, I'm
Yeah,
from
you're
nation.
it's the old player that we kicked that has an uncomfortable time in our nation. Like that player, sure. But
That's
you're
what
not
I'm
getting
saying.
a Holbrook or a Lead God opening a new city in 1400. You're getting the C-34 that we killed last week for not carrying a shield, you know?
So that's all part of my equation too, is like, if you're, I don't know what nation Bird's talking about, but if you're a young nation that has someone that's probably been burned out of an old nation and then burned out of another old nation and probably burned out of my nation, and now they're telling you how to max Kingsley, like, get the fuck out of there.
Well, yeah, I mean, Woody's notorious for telling people, don't listen to the person in New Nation that writes on the Nation chat, you know, how to build a city and what to do because they came from an old world, you know? As soon as they write on the Nation chat, I'm here from an old world, like, just know that they're a trash farmer and they don't know how to play the game, you know?
That's what I'm saying too. That's why, and maybe I interpreted this wrong. I feel like Bird was saying it was like a younger nation, and I would bail. If it was an older nation, that's a different story. You know, maybe people can figure it out after enough pain, get over your ego. Maybe someone buys a city, whatever. But if you're in a young nation and your whale doesn't know how to play, and the whale's advisors are farmers that have been burned out of Three Nations already. Get out of there. Spend your money somewhere else. Maybe not in the game, but if you're in the game,
So true.
somewhere better.
Yeah, go buy some silver and gold. You know, you'd be
I mean,
better
there's
off.
there's a guy in the 1300s that says he's just like on the ride and he wants to experience it. I get that too, but just don't spend too much money for that experience because it's not going to be a good one. You need to find a nation that has already like lost a whale, that suffered some issues. Like nobody stays on top the whole time. Nobody yet has figured out how to just bring all the whales and stay on top the whole time. Eventually something happens, and it's better to join a nation that's already had their something happen versus pretending that you're going to join this nation where everything's going to work out perfectly, in my opinion.
Jeez, you guys are missing a great football game if you don't got it on. Woo! I'm gonna go dark here for the next few minutes. Got 3 minutes or so left. I'm trying to listen, but my eyes are on the TV.
Holbrook,
I think that's good
point,
advice, Holbrook. Oh, sorry, you go, Hokage.
Yeah, to your point, that's the reason why I went to an older nation and not to a new nation.
Yeah, no, I think you made the tough call. I'm pretty standing firm on if you have to spend on your city for 3 months to see if it's going to go well, then you should quit and go join another nation. Because by the time you spend on that city for 3 months, you could have already put some money in another city and gotten somewhere and probably done something good. You can get a decent city in 785 and spend money for 3 months and definitely be a core contributor to the team. So anybody that feels trapped, you're definitely not. I mean, also, sure, try to fix your whale, try to have that conversation. I would say talk to that whale and see how they feel. I want to hear the words. Like, are they saying I'm spending too much money and this doesn't make sense? Or are they saying just like, I want to win everything? If they want to win everything and they're just going to throw away money because they think that's how to win in this game, then get out of there. But if they say like, well, this doesn't really make sense because it's now a team game and I can't dominate on my own, and so I need the team to do the right thing, like throwing money away is not the answer to this problem, then you have some hope. So I'm not speaking about anyone. I'm saying just talk to your whale and see if you have hope or not.
And I think for folks who are in younger nations, maybe like pre-first merge, I think it's important to start having those conversations with your local whale now, because before your first merge, one max buy player can carry a lot. Like it's actually still viable, like as a strategy, as a successful strategy for one person to just max buy everything and be a lot stronger than everyone else. That will take you pretty far. But I'm thinking about, and I'm not going to name the nation name or the player, but I saw a post going around of a nation chat post of a guy saying basically, I can't do it by myself anymore. That's not where we are in the nation or like evolution process. And I'm maxed out, so I can't grow and people are catching up. I think like you need to teach the whale to the extent possible, like how to build a team and how to be a leader. And that doesn't mean you have to be the R5. That doesn't mean you need to be doing all the leadership work, but they need to be like, in some ways, an emotional leader for the team and kind of the rock that the team can rally around if possible. And so try and have those
Sometimes it's really hard
conversations.
with whales, man. I'll tell you from experience, and as an R5/R6, R52D2, whatever fucking R's are out there, sometimes it's hard, man. You know, sometimes, you know, whales just, whatever, they just don't want to be on the same page, you know, and or give, you know, whatever. You know, so it's tough. It's tough dealing with all those different personalities, you know, on a weekly, daily basis. And, you know, when you do try and bring it all together or, you know, have a teaching moment, you know, You know, like I said earlier, a majority of whales are of the alpha descent, and you know, when there's more than one alpha in a room, sometimes that gets pretty difficult. So it's tough, man. You know, like that. You know, you worked with Deadpool for how long? But you know, like he was awesome with us. You know, but like I know that if he was led by somebody else, like that had to have been difficult. You know, like he is a difficult manage. You know, for sure. And you know, there's you know the list goes on and on. You know, like Mental and I currently aren't talking right now. You know, for whatever reason, I'm not going to really get into that because you know whatever. But like you know, just using the constant battle of you know bringing these like minds together, right? Like sometimes there's a lot of testosterone in the room. You know, so there's you know there's definitely a way to you know, kind of bring it all together. You know, but sometimes it, you know, it doesn't necessarily work out all, you know, the rainbows and butterflies, you know, because a lot of the times, you know, and especially at a high level, we're so much more than a credit card, you know, or at least the high level ones. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at Holbrook, right? Like, you know, look what he's done in 785. He's so much more than a credit card, as much as his credit card doesn't decline, you know? So it's like that's the value, you know, that we're looking for at a really high level. It's like, yeah, dude, like the money's cool, you know, like we get all that, you know, like awesome, but like, you know, this is what we're looking for, you know, and I think that you know that's where you get the high level teams, you know, and I think it always is going to boil down to leadership and the people who are willing to, you know, take the lead, you know. And so it's difficult, and I think it's individual based because every situation is different and every individual is different. And you know, I'll go back to my old school manager skills from when I was, you know, up and coming in the corporate world. You know, like every single person is managed individually, right? It's very difficult to manage as a whole, you know. And if you're going to have a great team, you got to manage individually, you know, or at least have individual relationships. You know, you got to be able to reach out to somebody on the side and you know, and give or receive constructive criticism. You know, you got to be able to, you know, rise to the occasion after you just got your ass handed to you for whatever reason. Like these are all things that, you know, make you better, you know, like, and that's what it's about. It's, you know, win or lose, right? You got to learn something from it, you know, like that's what it's about, in my opinion. So I think it's got a lot to do with who you're dealing with and how that, you know, particular leader is willing to handle it. Because, you know, me personally, like I try to, you know, keep everybody together. You know, I'm not a 255 or, you know, that wants or can win every event, you know, and you know, like that's not we're just trying to have fun, you know, but we're also trying to do it at a high level, you know. So I think there's a lot of, you know, whatever indifferences for people. But if you get those right minds together, man, you can build something really, really special, you know. And I do believe that when the whale type players are more than a credit card, you know, and they do become active leaders, right? Like I'm not a fan of making whales R4s that don't lead. Like, guys, stop doing that. You know, like you need people that are leading, you know, and just because the dude's got a fat city and some max Titans doesn't make him an R4, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like the biggest, baddest motherfuckers of the Marines, right? Like they ain't fucking colonels, you know? They're fucking SEAL 6. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? Like so it's like you guys got to stop doing that, you know? And you know, not you guys in general, but, you know, in a general way. I think that's, you know, the leadership position should be held for leaders, you know, people that are actively participating in the alliance, that are actively, you know, blah, blah, blah. I think the R5 is a little bit different, you know, just because of the alliance, you know, ownership and things like that. Like 357, for instance, like I would give leadership to a good handful of people over there if they wanted it, because I trust a lot of people over there, you know, but I don't think anybody's like willing to take those reins, you know, and attempt to do anything better with it, you know? So when I have some more time, I'll get back over there. But like at the end of the day, it's got a lot to do with, you know, who those 11 spots are. You know, I think it always comes back on this mantras here that we always get back down to leadership.
because the top 10 or 15 teams out there are just all led well, you know? And a lot of the times it's not because of whale. It's because they're led well, you know? So I'll shut up now.
Yeah,
No, I think
I
go Bird.
wait. Let me say one thing, and then Holbrook, you got something more important to say. LG, if you would believe it, Deadpool and I, our relationship was not the most difficult relationship of all the ones I had with other C41s and 459. There was someone else who I had a more difficult relationship with. And yeah, Deadpool and I, we did not see eye to eye on a lot of different things, other than the fact that we both wanted the nation to be successful. We just differed on the path to get there, but we had at least that common ground. So when he and I would have, virtual shouting matches with each other in Discord, we were. Anyways, shout out to Deadpool. He and I had so many arguments on Discord, but he's a smart guy and he's all in for the team. I can say that in good faith.
Dude. 100 million%.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, Holbrook. You jump in with something actually valuable.
No, I just I obviously relate to all of this, and it's great to get a merge with a nation where there's no trouble at all. The C41s are all not only on the same page, but I made the Japanese C41 R4 just because I feel like culture is different, and I don't understand it, but I understand that it's different, and I felt like that was the right signal, if you will. But I asked the British and the American R4s, British and American C41s. I was like, you guys want R4? And they were like, can we be R1? It's just a different culture. And just because you have a strong city doesn't mean you should be R4. And projecting power with R4 doesn't make any sense. I mean, I've said it before on here. I prefer my R4s to just be extremely active and speak a foreign language so we can just try to reach everyone. I don't know. I know it's different, but it seems to be working for us.
I like it. I mean, I have a great mix, very similar. I mean, we're only, for the most part, 2 languages in 425. So, we got Japanese and we got English. So, I like the move on putting the Asian player, Asian, whale type player at R4 because, the Japanese / Chinese, they have a lot of that quote, respect or whatever it's called. So, when you made that person R4, whoever that man or woman, I don't think it really matters, but any of the other Asian players in your alliance now just gain that much more respect for you, your team, them, all the above. I think it really, probably went a really long way.
Yeah, and this is all the stuff you have to worry about when you're trying to build one of the better nations in the world. And that's why I always laugh about these other nations that they're probably happy. They're probably in the middle of the road. They win every now and then. They have no arguments, or maybe they're in civil war and they're just happy with that. It is funny how our audience is only probably in the top 10% of the game. Everybody else is probably just blindly having fun.
And that's okay, and that's okay. Because they're going to roll across us, and they're going to get their asses handed to them and, see if they're going to want to get better.
They're going to see you in Polar, or they're going to see you in Wasteland. You're going to spank them, and they're going to say that's one of the best nations in the game. So we don't care that we lost to 425, and everyone will move on. I mean, I do think that's also a fun part of the game, is that there's a bunch of nations that are just having a good time and they're not optimizing everything. But yeah, at the top, I mean, you have to cater to all these interesting personalities, and you do have to be honest with yourself. If you have a max whale that has more money than concerns, and they're not going in the right direction as you, then that's going to be a problem probably forever. And if you don't have that situation, then stick with somebody that's spending some money and burning some people, but at least has a strategy. I mean, I've seen from the chat now who Bird is talking about, and I get it. I don't know this person. I don't know their strategy. I don't know if they're smart or not. But if I were in that nation and I didn't agree with that whale, I would absolutely get out. Like, I think there are plenty of nations for plenty of people, and they're all, I think there are a bunch of nations in the 700s. 796 has a C41, and they have a bunch of strong C41s there. Those guys play a certain way. There's a spot for somebody there. One of those is for sale, I mean. I think there's some cities in 791. I'm sure there are in some other cities around where I know my neighborhood. You know what I mean? I don't know anybody else's. There's definitely play styles for everyone, and I think that's the easiest thing in this game is just go find a
Bird
city.
said that a handful of pods ago. It's like find someone where the play style is similar. They do the events that you do, and they prioritize the events that you tend to like. And I think that'll go a long way. For the travelers out there anyway.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear that 904 is prioritizing different events now. A lot of people, I feel like a lot of people are prioritizing Elite War, which is, it's not my event, but it's still fun. I guess you guys
God,
abandoned.
that fucking touchdown! Oh my fucking God! Let's go. Wow, sorry. I thought I was on mute. My bad. I keep pressing the button and unpressing it. Let's go. Fucking Bears might have just tied it up.
I have a perspective similar to Holbrook's. I think it comes from unmet expectations in both of the scenarios. Like, people join this game, start spending
Captain,
tons of money.
Can I interrupt real quick? Just
Yep.
because folks may not have heard from you before, can you give us a quick intro about like who you are, where you're from, just so we can put some context behind it?
I
Sorry.
played in 1038, played in other nation before, and just get in there and have fun. So
Sweet. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you or disturb your flow.
no, you're
take
good.
it over.
I guess I have a C41 if that's what you're asking too. But I guess my perspective is people start playing the game, get excited, spend absorbent amounts of money without understanding it, and then have unmet expectations. And I think, like in the one situation from the one player that's saying, hey, everyone needs to step it up, or the one that says, hey, he's burning his nation and most likely in frustration, it just comes from that unmet expectation. And I think part of that comes from the word investment in this game, which people need to stop using that word. This game is not an investment. This is lighting money on fire and seeing it burn quicker than
The
with
first
gas.
30 days that I played, somebody said that if you spend $5,000, you can go on Facebook and sell it for $30,000.
It's more like if you spend $500,000, you can maybe get $3,000. And so, but the word investment is just stupid. Leave your nation. You're not going to get a merger. And if you do, it's not going to be the one you want. Like, the quicker you can learn to go play a game and have fun, then you're starting to understand this. You should not be frustrated 90% of the time, like most people are in competitive nations that are kind of just eventually dying. Leave, go play, have fun. That's what it's about. And I know, like, when I moved to 1038, it's a completely different game. I have people all doing speed attacks. Sure, they're not all C41s, but they're growing. And so we might have, 30 of our players might be C34s that were in that 60, 70 person group attack. But they're growing, and it's fun for everybody. And we lose because we play against stronger nations, but we're getting stronger every day. And we're recruiting, and it's a good time. And I think that's a lot of times what gets lost in this game is you're supposed to be having fun. And it's not an investment. Leave, go play somewhere else, and you'll enjoy the game.
I think people deal with the same problems and they don't realize it, but there is a constant pull between the spenders who want to win and the people who just want to play. And they say, I downloaded this game, I can do whatever I want. And then the spenders say, I'm powerful enough, I can do whatever I want. It's a bunch of people that want to do whatever they want. And you have to manage that effectively. You can't just tell the spenders like, no, let's just support these farmers forever. It's not going to work. Eventually, they're going to quit your alliance. They're going to go fight without you. They're going to hate you for it. You're going to call them a rebel. Like the whole thing is a balance, and I think LG hit it on the head. You have to have great leaders that can constantly feel that balance and be like, okay, I know that guy sucks. Give me a week. Let me work on that or whatever. Okay, I know that, that farm is not what it should be, and that attack was legal, but, let me deal with something or whatever. But if you run off your spenders defending your farmers, good luck. And if you run off your whole nation by only killing everyone, good luck. You have to try to figure out the medium ground somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Am I off?
No.
No, bro, that's
Well, I
that's
mean-
100% it, man. You know.
And I'll drop the name because it's in chat, but you're talking about Q. He'll never be happy in his nation unless he gets some lucky merge, and I mean lucky. He's only going to be happy when he quits and goes somewhere else, whether it's to do something different in his life or play in a different nation. And there's a ton of other nations just like it. So, but
Yeah,
one thing
Q's
I noticed
definitely
is the
better
people
off
that left.
moving.
Yeah, he's never going to get the activity that's going to make him happy. He never will. I've played him in Polar. He won't. So, I don't know.
I mean,
and if
I
you're
know-
in that nation, leave.
Go ahead. My bad.
No, I was just going to say, and if you're in a nation like that, leave. Go play with someone that you're going to compete with, and you'll have a lot more fun.
Bird's packing for a road trip right now, guys. Don't mind him, you know.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sitting outside the theater waiting for some folks to get out of Wicked. We got some family in town this week, so that's
Very
why
cool,
I
very
joined. I didn't make the cut to go in and see the show, but they're fine with me being the cab driver afterwards.
I made the cut to see the show, and you're winning. So
Yeah, I
settle
was
down.
just gonna say, bro, you won that one, dude. That is
Yeah,
such
right.
a win. Such a win.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and I think, LG, you said something, this was maybe 15 or 20 minutes ago, in response to something I was saying. I should point out that, to your point, LG, like, I'm giving a very rosy picture of what could happen with some of these things about conversations. And just for clarity, I am talking about things that bounced, in many cases, bounced the other direction for me and did not work. Like I'm speaking from the pain of making a ton of mistakes and trying to help you guys avoid those. But the reality is like some people you just are not going to be able to work with. And I know that it can be frustrating to hear from us over and over, oh, just move nations then, like it's an easy thing. But I guess what I'm saying is if you take a step back and look at everything pretty logically, even if you like would say, oh, I've got friends here, oh, we've invested a lot here, like, yeah, but you need to look, like, that's a sunk cost fallacy issue, and you need to look 6 months in the future. Is this going to get better? If it's not going to get better, am I really going to be having fun? No, probably not. Then like save yourself the 6 months of pain and either quit the game or move to a place where you can have some fun. The other thing I would say is like many nations at this point, because of the way the game has evolved with no merges, many nations that are desirable to move to have cities that you can rent or like use for an event and get a feel for it. Like no one's asking you to buy in blind, right? People have cities available that you can come check out, see what it's like in the priority events, get a feel for the culture and see if it's a good fit. And I think, although maybe not in 785 where you guys have a waiting list, there are nations that could accommodate groups of players too, right? If you want to come with your friends and you don't want to leave your friends behind, like have that conversation with your friends. I just think like sunk cost fallacy does so much work in this game, and we need to try and step back from that. Like I left a very strong C41, and it was because the nation I was in was not a good fit for me. I, very, very publicly have made this clear that I was on the verge of quitting and would have been if something didn't happen to happen at the right time for me. If you're not having fun, this game can be a ton, but it can be miserable if you're not in the right environment for you as a player. And so, this is a game. It should all be fun. There'll be some difficult things if you're in leadership, because that's just pain in the ass, comes with the territory. But overall, the game should be fun. Overall, it should be enjoyable for you. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, I think you're totally right, man. Like, people stay too long in a bad nation just for 3 people, like 3 real close friends, when they could just make a move and then find 3 more cities for their friends in a good nation. And, good can be defined as whatever. But you don't have to throw away your money in any other nation. And also, we have a bunch of transplants, and I've seen a bunch of patterns. I don't love that people just show up and then they're afraid to talk, like that they're not sure if they're on the team or whatever. The nations that people want you to move to, they want you to show up, take a city, and these days they're free, if we're honest. Take a city and just start talking and just start playing and just have a good time. There's no reason to be shy. There's no reason to worry about money. Just if you're listening and you're active and you're not happy, you should join one of these great alliances, because it's not what you're afraid of. And if you show up and you don't talk to anyone, then that's also on you, right? People want active players. Everyone's begging for active players. So if you think that your contribution is too small and you're showing up every time, or you're showing up almost all the time and you're spending $5 a month, literally every nation in the game will take you. Right? LG, you would take them. Light, you'd take them. Anybody would take an active player for sure.
We'd take them for sure. Absolutely.
You'd be hard pressed to be leaving active players out there when you're out there showing up, 45 deep in Elite War. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that there's an ask for every seat. My dad taught me that as a young guy. So you could be the big birds of the world, right? Where you hang around in a nation just a little bit too long, right? Maybe even use Mental as an example there. Maybe some of the other guys in, other nations that have moved, in the last couple of years, call it. There's a lot of movement going around, and typically is what you're seeing is a trend of, the nation that they're moving from not necessarily being very competitive for whatever reason. And I'm sure there's a good plethora of reasons why it's not competitive. But I also see a trend where when the whale does disappear, said, wonky team tends to, sometimes pull it together and, make something cool all over again. What PHX, right? They lost that original whale, and I forget who took it over, that Monkey City or whatever that guy's name was, I forget. But those guys are still killing it over, man. And they're showing up participation-wise, top 10 Elite War still. They gave us a run for our money. Not too long ago in Elite War, showing up like 96 deep or something crazy like that. So there's a lot of potential both ways. But it's all about relationships, man. It's all about the vibes and the people that you get. And if you guys can all bring the like minds together, all the like minds that like Iron Blood go over here, all the like minds that like Void War go over here, all the like, the Polar War minds come over here. That would be super ideal. Then you'd get like a bunch of little different events where different teams kind of, tackle, those, premier events for whatever reason. But I tend to agree with Holbrook when he says things like, I can win Polar, but I can't win Polar and GC. I can do this, but I can't do this and that. And I think that is for, everybody maybe but 255, you know? And I think if there are a couple of new events come and you know, and some things change for 255. I mean, listen, with all due respect to 255, 567 is gonna give those bags a test, you know? Let's just call that what it is in Polar. Like, they're gonna give those bags a test. You know, I do believe that 567 is gonna fall a little short there, you know, but if it's like a weekly thing, you know, that can really change, you know? Get teams like 621 and 567 and 425 all going at 255 at the same time. Like that might be difficult, you know? Not to say it like that's a thing or we would ever do that, but like, you know, there's a lot of different like things to go around and you know, whatever people like, you know? And so again, putting 255 off to the side, I think it would be really nice to almost see like, you know, some people just rise to the occasion for some premier events and, you know, and go from there. Because I feel like that you're going to be looking Holbrook just because, you know, unless you change your time slot, you know, you're gonna be running up against 255 and you're just going to be seeing your ranks drop. And, you know, so now you got something to decide, you know, what are you going to do?
I'm not
You know?
I'm not moving 100. I'm not moving 100 people. So we'll just fight. But I agree with you. There could definitely be a future where it's fun, where it's not this year, it's not this time, but in the final round of Polar, we could definitely organize something in the future where you and I would say like, oh, you know, let's both go after 567 if they're number one, or let's go after 255 if they're number one, and then those guys would have to make a choice because they're already gold 7 or whatever they are. Do we really want to spend a bag on this, or we're already gold? What are we doing? We're getting the same statue regardless. I think the game seems to be
I'll
going
tell you
that way.
255's fighting. I'm just letting you know that, you know?
Oh,
But,
no, I don't want this. By the way, actually, you know what? Take 785 out of it. In the future, you and 567 might fight 255. Let's leave 785 out so we can just watch and have a good time. You
I
know what I'm
already
saying?
said it
though?
earlier in the pod, man. We're going to be watching. We're not going to be engaging. You can have our towers. It's cool, you know, and we're going to watch. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I feel like top 5 is where you want to be at. You want to be like a threat to everyone, but not a target to everyone. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Not top 5. We're looking for top 15 or something like that at this point. But as we continue to grow, I'm not looking for that top spot. I'm looking for that top 5, just a nice little seat at the table so I can watch all of the rest of you have a good time. I feel like that's a good
Yeah,
place
I mean,
to
that's
be in
pretty
the
much
game.
what we do in 425, man. We just want to see a table. We want to hang around. We want to, you know, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I don't think I've ever shouted from the hilltops that we're the best or we're the this or we're the that. You know, I'm fully aware that there's a handful of teams out there that can beat us, you know, on any given Sunday. You know, but at the end of the day, like, you know, we have a good little squad, man. You know, we show up, we fight together, we have a good time. You know, the team rallies behind us. You know, you know, I'd like to think we support each other over there, you know, to, you know, the best we can. And, you know, it's nice. So, yeah, but I'm not trying, you know, I'd much rather be casual, especially this year. You know, I'll let everybody know I'm selling my business this year, you know, and it's a lot, you know, and I'm just kind of putting my salesman hat off to the side for a moment and, you know, preparing to kind of go to the pitch table here in the next 6 months or so. And, man, it is fucking time consuming. So my Monday through Fridays right now are just like fucking, like just swamped. You know, I'm like literally not showing up to a couple of meetings for Polar this week or last week. You know, it's like, oh, yeah, I'll be there, but like at like 11:30. You know.
No, I think you do a great
Yeah.
job of teaching everyone bag management, and I think it's so critical. And I know we talk about the same nations all the time, but we don't talk about the same ideas. It's the reality is that all of us are managing bags. You know, should 785 actually push for GC, or should we not spend a dime? And should 425 actually go nuts in Polar, or is that money spent somewhere else? Like, everyone is doing this math, and I know people are probably bored of hearing about our nations, but the math that we're doing is about all nations. It's not really about our nations at
Yeah,
all.
you better be doing that math. You know, if you're any type of leader, you know, and clearly you're doing that in 785, and There's a you know a good amount of premier nations out there and some growing ones for that matter, you know. But you have to, you know, Camel's given us too much this last 18 months. You know, there's no such thing as a max city, you know, unless like yeah, there's it's just crazy, you know. So, and I think the older you get, I think that some of the people that you know were spending money on a consistent level are spending it just a little bit less, you know, and it's becoming a more you know, I don't want to call it casual because it's not casual because you know you're still spending money on it and things like that. But you know, at the end of the day, I think the older you get, the more just you know like status quo it becomes. So you just have to find ways to you know continue to make it fun. You know, continue to rally the team because you know you don't want to be caught with your fucking pants down. You know, and if you are caught with your pants down, you better not fucking blow a bag. You know, like, because that's just crazy. You know, like blowing a bag and losing is like the worst feeling in the world, in my opinion. You know, and it's not for me. Again, I got 10 million gold plus, and I can go buy some more at any given time. You know, but when you drain the bags of like a third or more of your alliance and you fucking lose, it sucks. You know, we've all been in those elite wars where they went 45 minutes and everybody fucking blew a bag and you lost, and that feeling right there is just fucking ungodly, you know? Like this overtime game right now that I'm watching, you know, like everybody on their seat, like the way that these guys are going to feel. Anybody see Josh Allen at the podium the other night, you know, when he lost, you know, like this shit hits, you know? So to blow a bag and fucking lose, oh man, I don't know.
So LG, I'll hit you with college football on that. You know, Miami, obviously, tomorrow's exciting for you. I was at the last Florida State national championship game, and it was against Auburn, and we were losing probably going into halfway through the fourth quarter. I don't remember. And I was just like, why am I here? This is brutal. I just spent so much money to fly all the way out here, get these tickets, get this hotel, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's brutal. We ended up winning the game, but honestly, I told myself I would never go to another national championship game after that one because it's just so much on the line. And I'm sure that's what you guys feel like when you're fighting. Like, when you fight 255 eventually for Elite War, I'm sure that's what it'll feel like. I don't know. You guys are doing. I actually thought recently that Bayou, I think he's on here, no disrespect, but I thought he was overestimating how much you guys spend. And then I realized what's actually being spent on these big battles, and it's crazy. Like, you guys actually have to budget just like everybody else. And then I guess it's even crazier for these nations that don't budget.
Bro, yes. Say it again for the guys in the back, you know? Like, because it's so true. You know, like outside of like me or Mental in GFK, for instance, well, Mental's not there right now, but outside of those two players, myself and him, like everybody else has to be managed, bro. And there's guys in there spending buttloads of cash, you know, buttloads of cash. And those guys still have to be managed or those bags will be drained. You know, they will be drained. And then what? You're 37 minutes into Elite War, knowing damn well you're going 45 minutes, and the chat says, I'm out of troops. What the fuck? What the fuck? Like, that's the part where I don't, you know, like, yeah, so, no.
It's tough. The same thing happens in even GC, right? Like, this is why I have such a struggle with prioritizing things. We always say we're not going to prioritize GC, and then we get in
listen,
there.
man, if you're going to prioritize GC, your nation, right, in my opinion, would literally have to drop everything. You have to drop
I think so
everything.
too.
And you have to save for finals. That's it. You have to squeak in to the top four or whatever, and you have to drop everything. You know, and that's the way we did it. You know, it's the way we did it. You can ask the team, you know, our first one, whatever, we had to drop everything. We couldn't play
I think
anything.
you're right. I think you're completely right. Let me ask you a more strategic question. Do you think so I don't think we'll win this one, even if we play the best we can possibly play. I just have respect for 732. So I think they're better organized and they saved better and blah, blah, blah. But let's pretend that we just learned great lessons and then we won the next GC. Do you believe that GC is still going to have the same prestige in 6 months?
I mean, you know, just like I said kind of earlier in the pod, I do believe the two boomer events that still carry the most weight when it comes to teams is Elite War. And when it comes to nations, it's GC. You know, you can potentially throw a Void War out there, you know, but Void War can be, you know, manipulated with the first 4 phases. So I think
So I think
as
you're
a-
right. I think you're right.
Sure.
Let me just interrupt you real quick because I want to hear you deeper on this. I think you're right on Elite War because it's still super relevant, obviously, and the battles are still amazing. So amazing you guys won't put them on the internet, which I wouldn't either. So I'm not disagreeing, but I'm saying like it's a big fucking deal. GC, I'm not sure about, man. Like people aren't even showing up. It's not the same. You know what I mean? Elite War is still
Well,
there.
that's
You're
because there's winners there, right? Like you can't tell 9-10 that GC ain't shit after they won and beat 904's ass last season, right? You can't say that to them.
I mean, you actually can because they don't even care because they're not going to play because they want to get a merch. That's how little the event matters. These guys aren't even going to defend their title.
I mean, I think we both know that 904 attempted to win.
Yeah. Sorry. Maybe I
Right.
misunderstood. I meant 910. I meant 910 won, and then they were just like, yeah, no, we're good. We got our
Well, yeah,
win.
no, but they proved a point. That's kind of, you know, essentially what I'm saying here is like they, you know, were able to, you know, push kind of through that, you know, and I don't know. It's one of those things where it's difficult when you have nations like yourself or, you know, GC winners, you know, but like I'll use my globe as an example. It's the easiest, you know, unless 373 comes together and attempts to give us a run for our money, nobody can do anything to us. So I agree that it's kind of in stone right now. And even if 373 came at us, I do believe we would come out on top still, but it would be a lot more fun per se, you know. But if you go up to the nations where it's competitive and you know, like whatever the 904, 910 Chinese nation thing, like that's going to be whatever. It's going to be fun more than likely. But maybe the 11-11 GC finals isn't going to be very fun, you know? So like, I think it's all relative, but I also think it's because there's so many dominant teams out there, you know, and somebody has to dethrone them. And the unfortunate part is not a lot of people have enough balls to do what, like, I don't know, what 567's doing, saying, fuck everybody, I'm not leaving my nation. I'm going to build, and eventually I'm going to come get that ass, you know? And I have a lot of respect. You know, I say it all the time, like 255 is my favorite nation below me. 567 is my favorite nation above me, you know? And like, but they reach down and, as Holbrook would say, grab their nuts and say, you know what, like, we don't like what's going on here, but we're going to keep trudging along and eventually I'm going to come get that ass. But you don't have anybody doing that in like the 1100s and maybe you should be doing that in your nations, right? Like, you know, like you said, maybe not this GC, but next GC, we're going to come for that ass maybe, you know, like, so you got to reach down and come for that ass. So as long as there's somebody trying to come for that ass, it's cool. But when nobody's trying to come for that ass, like 255, like nobody's coming for that ass in 255's bracket. Nobody can give them a, like, sure, there's going to be some cool battles, 75 or 75 and all that cool stuff, but like they're not going to give 255 a run for their money. You know, there'll be some cool battles. That's it, you know? So I think it's relative to what exactly is going on and per globe bracket. But again, what's a better measure of nation versus nation? You know, and I know you're not going to say Void because you'll just recruit to win, right? So that's not, so you got to have something else, you know, and then you got nothing to hang your hat on for, you know, I have a great nation. You just have a great alliance, you know. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I think you've covered this before, and I think you have to get more merges to make it more exciting for everything to continue, like you're saying, and maybe that'll happen, and that would be cool. It's just super boring watching the same people win over and over. I mean, like
It's
you've
fun when
never,
it's competitive, man. You know, like you just
right?
experienced what it's like to be competitive against 732, right? They're more strategic, they're more this, they're more that, you know, what the things that you just described, but it was competitive. You know, whether it was fun or whatever, it was anxiety for, 72 hours. There was some prep there, there was some, whatever, but at the end of the day, like that was competition, you know?
You're not wrong, but I had more fun fighting 255 and 425 in Polar.
Well, that's because it's your event, and you're not a baby boomer. So, like, like you have your priority event. You've been pitching Polar Man. You got me on the Polar bandwagon. So, like, at the end of the day, that's your event. So you're always going to have a little bit more love for that. But also, I think it's got a lot to do with the struggles that 785 went through with the loss of Vegas and all that shit that you've been dealing with the last year plus, and now you're just finding your groove, and you're 100% right that it would be too much pressure to continue to push Polar. Your guys are obviously pushing Elite War a little bit, taking the challenges, doing your thing, and then to add GC to all those things, I think that would be a lot, or not a lot. I think it would be too much, So I don't think you should be doing it this season, but I definitely think, you should reach down and grab your nuts and give those guys a true run for their money, and if you don't win, you don't win, it's cool. Like I think a loss is good for a lot of people,
Yeah, I guess maybe the advice that maybe would be the most helpful is the reason that we got the participation in Polar was just telling people to show up just for 5 minutes. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do with GC. Just show up for 5 minutes, whatever. Just show up, send your fleets to towers. I know that that's not super helpful, but getting them just to log in, and then if you can get like 60 or 80 of them to all log in for 5 minutes, most of them will stick around and play for a little while. So we're trying to do something like that. But at the same time, man, like everybody's been talking about this GC of GCs for as long as I've been playing the game. I keep hearing I keep hearing that we're supposed to see 255 play 425 and 621 and I don't know 732. I
mean,
guess.
I'll be the first one to tell you that I won't engage in that. I'll save my cash. I'll tell my team to save their cash. We'll have a couple of cool battles, I'm sure, but I wouldn't be trying to win that,
I hear you, and that's why I'm saying like I'm more excited about Polar because 255 was there. You were there. 989 was like 100 points away from winning their GC. And we've won two in the past. We didn't win. We haven't won in a while. But you had 100 points away from 4 GC champions fighting each other in Polar. I don't know. I think that's a lot of fun. I hear you. It's my event. I still also think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like, like using our matchup that we had last week. Like you saw 255 going at that other nation, 9-8, whatever the hell it was. Like that's not a, like that wasn't fun for them, Holbrook.
I have comments, but it would require me to criticize another nation, which I don't really want to do. I'm just saying there was 3 like almost GC champs, or there were 3 GC champs and an almost GC champ fighting, and it was a lot of fun. It's as close as your like GC of GCs you're ever gonna get. I mean, I guess unless they
I don't
change the
disagree
game.
with that. We've seen some really cool Polar matchups over the last couple of seasons. I'll 100% give you that, man. We've definitely seen some good ones with the 621s and the 567s and the 904s and the us and the 25. There's been some really good ones. Add in a couple of Chinese nations sprinkled in there because they always give us a hard time. Some Ronaldos in there, even like all the above. So, there's definitely been some good ones. But the GC of GCs and the all these man, you guys keep talking about new events, man. Enough with the fucking new events, But we all know they're going to come. But yeah, if there's a GC of GCs, like I'll be there with my popcorn. We'll have a couple cool battles. But 425 won't be blowing a bag on that, you know? It's too much, you know? We'll play a little bit of events here and there. We're going to play our Void Wars and we're going to play our Elite Wars and shit like that. But I don't foresee going up against a couple of these teams that are, you know, that got 10 guys, you know, dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know? So you can't do it.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm not even sure it would be better. I think it's good for GC to end with people winning. I'm not sure that it makes sense for the whole game to lose except one nation. It'd be fun. Don't get me wrong. I want to see it. You guys should fight each other. But as far as like, you know, organizing the game or strategy or whatever, I wouldn't do it. There's no chance.
Yeah, I mean, if I just think about it out loud, I mean, I feel like it would just be 255 and 621. You know, they're the most healthy nations, you know, population wise. Anyways, you know, maybe you know, I don't necessarily know what's going on over there since the new guys have kind of taken over. Kind of, you know, just kind of watching and looking right now, but you know, just in a general way. You know, those are two very heavily populated nations. So I do feel like it would go there, but 5, 6, 7 will give them both a fucking problem, you know? And yeah, whatever that looks like. And I would only assume that 5, 6, 7 would focus on 621, their force 255 would freewheel to a win, you know?
I don't think that's going to last that much longer. I hear you, and I don't disagree with you, but it actually feels like, I don't know, to me, maybe it's wishful thinking because I like both nations. I like 5, 6, 7 and 621, but it feels to me that 5, 6, 7 is shifting their gaze from a rivalry to just being the best. I mean, you know, like an example of that is if they join Polar to fight 255. They've obviously made it
100%,
rich.
man. I mean, bro, if you don't know Bo and Tip, like, sure, Bo's quit right now. He's going to get married and do his thing, but like, you can bet your bottom dollar he's engaged at least at a leadership level, and those are a couple of two of the best, man. You know, and they've been planning and plotting for a long time to be just that. You know, and they are definitely the squad / you know, leadership team to reach down and grab them and say, all right, let's fucking give it a go, you know? And, you know, I'm anxious to see it, you know? But again, you know, moving into like a GC style format, you know, I think it's a little bit different than Polar, you know? Items and spend rate is a big, you know, advantage to 5, 6, 7. Comparable to, you know, anybody else, in my opinion.
I definitely have this new approach, attitude, whatever, if you will. I'm not even interested in trying to lead the nation anymore at all. I think the smart way to run the nation is to have the top alliance try to play everything. Not everything because their bag will be empty, but like have priorities. And then you should have the other alliances focused on the nation events, and you can join those. I feel like all these nations that are very well organized, they all have this setup. And Tip and Bo, of course, have 5, 6, 7 on the same page. I don't even know this to be true, but I'm sure like 1111 probably is already sorting this out too. I feel like people are getting this strategy together. How long before someone like an 1111 could challenge for, I don't know, a top 3 of Elite War, or I don't know what else. I don't know, maybe like top 10 of, well, they're going to be in top 10 of Polar if they want, right? I don't know. I'm just wondering like how long before 1111 becomes a machine and challenges 5, 6, 7, or somebody else. Is there anybody else on the rise like that?
I mean, you know, like, number one, it's about leadership. You know, I know there's some spending players out there in 1111, but I have no idea about their leaders, right? And I'm saying that like because I really don't know. So, you know, clearly they have spending players. So, you know, like, how long is that going to last? You know, I don't have the answer to that, but I would be really anxious to see like what the rest of the team looks like, you know? You know, is everybody else growing, and are they active? You know, because if it's just 10 guys, like, you know, clearly 10 guys can hurt you, but you know, the rest of the team is going to be what's needed to, you know, get into that, you know, say top 10 for conversation's sake. You know, and so I think that's where they're, you know, how long are they away? You know, again, I'm not sure. I don't know what their leadership team looks like, and I don't know what
As far
their,
as I
you know,
know,
their middle row looks like.
as far as I know, it's not just 10 guys. They show up in numbers. It's not just the
No,
C41s.
meaning the whales. I apologize. Meaning, if I go look at the officer power of that nation, there's, you know, a definitive line on, you know, who's spending money and kind of who's not. And you know, and I've yet to come across them in an event where they showed up in big numbers, and I've played them, I think, twice. You know, so that's just my experience, and I'm sure it's because they didn't want to blow a bag against us, or, you know, maybe you know, DK was playing football that particular day. You know, so a couple of those things may or may not have happened, but at the end of the day, like, I've personally never seen them show up. You know, and the couple of times that I did see them show up, it was just a couple of whales flying around, you know, and those are easy to kind of, you know, hone in when they're not together and they're doing their own thing. You know, but I remember talking to some of the guys after in one of the pods or in the chat, and it's like, yeah, you know, we didn't show up, you know, we didn't want to, you know, whatever, blow a bag against you guys, blah, blah, blah. So, but if I go look at their nation, I know they're very, very strong. You know, I just don't know the leadership, and, you know, so, and it would take the rest of the team, you know, like, using like a 5-6-7 as example, you know, you can't just say those guys are, you know, the top 10 whales anymore. You know, like, those guys are showing up in numbers, you know, like, you know, those elite war ranks are, you know, not skewed by any means. So an 11-11 is a little bit far, you know, far away, depending on, you know, if everybody can continue to come together, and if they are showing up in numbers in like the, you know, elite war settings and, you know, the polar settings, you know, then I don't think they're too far away if they're going to continue to be able to keep that participation high, because everybody in the, you know, in that top 10 there, maybe minus one team, is showing up with 75 plus, you know.
Like,
Yeah, they
it
look great.
drops in terms of officers. It drops a little, quite a bit, actually, after the 7th place for now. But up to the 7th place,
Yeah, I call
they
it
are
top
all
10 just in
above
a
20.
general way.
Yeah, but they are all
Yeah,
above
it's crazy.
20.
Those are some strong fuckers. I'm also not a fan of one guy running 4 cities, you know, but, you know, more power to him if he's got it like that. I only think that can take you so far. But, you know, again, like, those guys are clearly hyper strong, and if they're also hyperactive, you know, I think, you know, you just have to do the weight game, you know, like, go take some stat averaging and all that stuff from like a 255, or, you know, take 255 away, like do like a 52 or like a 113, you know, something like that, like an older nation that will still show up with, you know, 65 plus. You know, are they going to be able to beat them? You know, it really depends. If they're fully participated and properly led, it's very likely that they can. You know, like, I think your team can go beat 113 right now. You know, Holbrook. I think that they'll give you a real good run for your money, you know, because they're going to show up with 70 to 80, and there's some real strong cities in there, but the average of their cities are very good. They're all above C38 for the most part. They all got really good LRA and things of that nature, you know, but doesn't mean you can't beat them, you know. So, you know, all those things come into play, but they're clearly up and coming. They're clearly doing their thing. But they, you know, it's one thing to do that, but it's another thing to do it for some time. You know, with all due respect to 11-11, they're still a new nation. You know, so they got to be able to do this. I mean, Holbrook, you're in the 785. How long have you been playing this game now? 4 years?
3.5.
That sounds right. I have no idea, but that sounds right.
Yeah, so 3.5, 4 years. Like they're sub a year. Or right at a year, something like that. A little bit longer maybe, but so you got to be able to do it for some time. That's why I have so much respect for 255 because they've been doing it at a high level. I remember back in the day, I don't know if they still do it now because I don't go to their nation all that often and look around, but I remember when they were doing the posting the nation number on a dummy city and putting it on, sticking it in the mud. And they were just ripping off, all these wins in a row. And I'm fairly certain that that streak is still rolling. They probably ran out of room on the fucking Capitol. But like those are some things, So they've been doing it for a long time, and that's why I have a lot of respect for them. So, 11-11's got some time to put in,
Yeah, I mean, they're doing great, right? They're doing everything right. They seem to have the right attitude. They're a fun nation. I don't know. I watch them a little bit, but I'm also, I don't want to say anything negative because I know they're going to hate me for it, but I always watch a nation after they take a loss, not while they're riding high. You know what I mean?
Again, man, it ain't about how you get fucking knocked down. It's about how you get, how you stand back up. I think that's from Rocky or some shit like that. But, that's so true. Like yeah.
I mean, it's
I
probably
think they
because I
did.
got smacked with Vegas, right? Among
think-
other things.
I think
Sorry.
they did.
Go
right
ahead,
in the-
Hokage. My bad.
I'm just saying, I think they got slapped right in the beginning, a little bit, because I was in 1093 and we won the first GC against them. But on the second one, we had absolutely no chance. Like, they just went crazy. And they haven't stopped since then. But 11-11 was really close to win their first GC, and we took it away.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we see the same things in all of the nations. Leaders
Don't bring
come
that
in,
heat
leaders
on us,
go.
Hostage, bro. You're bringing that heat on 425. And they're gonna, next thing you know, we're gonna have dumb challenges against these guys.
And Farrell just joined them too.
Yeah. Last week, as far as I know.
Who did? I'm sorry.
Pharrell Vincent, the YouTuber guy.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
This is another reason why I'm like, I don't know that I want to try to be a top nation. I don't want to have to attract YouTubers. Like, I think that they're brilliant. They got a YouTuber. That's amazing. Some other nations did too. I'm not talking like negatively or positively about anyone, but man, watching the level of commitment that you have to make to become a top nation. At this point, what are we even talking about? You have to like buy all the cities, allocate them correctly, get a YouTuber, get a hype team, get a PR team. I mean, it's gotten crazy what it takes to be one of the top nations.
I wonder if we can fucking roll up our nations and sell it to a hedge fund.
Maybe a Chinese one.
Crazy. You're so right, man. And it's yeah. And then add all the time, energy, and we all know about the money, but yeah, man. Like I said, I was a little shocked this week, and I like felt bad. A couple of times I logged into the chat, and like I look at the chat, and it's like, where's lead guy? Blah 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 blah, and it's like, motherfuckers read the messages, man. I told y'all, I got some shit going on right now, and but like, yeah. It's one of those things where it's always up and down. There's always something going on, But man, this week I literally was in the game like sub 8 hours, which is probably the first time in like several years for me.
During GC, humble brag. But good for you, man. I know you're busy. I'm just saying, if you can only log in for 8 hours during GC, you guys are doing good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, GC's, when you see the matchups, it's like, okay, like, and plus for prelims, like, there's no reason to even if somebody wanted to, like, engage with us, like, there's really no reason to drop a bag in prelims, so long as you can get that top 16. So yeah, but I was there. I played 2 rounds. I did my time, did some Elite War. I'm good for showing up for time events. I got a good old Siri, that'll keep me in check. So I'm good at setting alarms and shit like that. But yeah, man, time was definitely stretched thin this week, or essentially starting this whole year. This last 2-3 weeks has been crazy for me. But good, all good things, man. It's some hard ass work and a bunch of time and effort for hopefully a big payday here this time next year, hopefully, and then I'll be able to chill.
I don't think sometimes people have a notion or a correct idea of what it is not to blow a bag on GC in a nation like 425. Like, I didn't do much. I sat next to the towers, I sent reinforcements, and by GC and 300 speeds were gone. Just by trying to defend the towers. That's it.
And that's what Holbrook was saying earlier. It's impossible to not, and if you're, entering Iron Blood and people are sharing their cities and you're speeding across the map to go defend them type dumb shit, like Holbrook, or not Holbrook, Hawk, how many times in the chat in round 3, if you were in round 3, did I say, don't fucking spend, you get 45,000 for free, burn the shit around you for free, get it for free. I literally said that, like, I gotta say, like, a dozen times.
You said the same thing for round 1. Like, don't blow the bag.
It's like,
Let's get
guys,
to
please,
45K
for the love of
and
God.
relax. But once you're engaged
But
and you're
that's not
having
happening.
fun, can you stop? Can you really? I can't.
Yeah, and you know what? It's probably why we love you over there in 425, man. But I would love for you to hold those speeds for an Elite War next time. Especially when we had one planned against 255. And give everybody an update on that. I've gone ahead and put a pause on that for now, not to take anybody. We've gone ahead and put a pause on that right now. More will be revealed here in the coming weeks, but for the time being. And the 25th has been rescheduled, and we're not playing 255 at the moment.
But don't worry, I'll get.
How
more
much longer
speeds
do you
until
think
then.
until you
I mean, so for us, I mean, clearly there's some stuff going on with Mental and GFK currently. So Mental's out of Alliance currently. So with him being out of Alliance, I think that's probably 15 or 20% of a good enough reason to say, all right, we need to put a pause on this. But I do think the other 80% is I think I've said it probably a handful of times the past few pods that I've been on. There's 10 or 15 guys that they hit or miss on whether or not they're going to be there. This past Sunday we had a Elite War against 286 a couple weeks ago. I told you where they had 65 to start and then they had 96 4 minutes in. One of those deals. Not to throw Mental under the bus, but he wasn't able to make that Elite War. So like things become so when it's like you're going against 255 and you guys have heard Bayou before, right? All right, man, we'll see you with 100. Bro, they ain't fucking joking. That's not a joke. So you can't go 80 versus 100, bro. You just can't. You can't go 85 versus 100. You can't go 90 versus 100. You got to be fully prepared to give a team like that a run for their money. You're just going to blow a bag and fucking lose, right? Like what we've been talking about all night. I'm not trying to blow a bag and lose, and I'm likely going to lose even if we blow a bag and we are 98 online.
we would still likely lose, but at least I know we were at full capacity. Then it's learning experience. You know, if it's 80 versus 100, now I'm pissed off at the other 20, as opposed to it being a learning experience. Catch my drift?
No, you're making 100% sense. You want to learn something from it if you're going to spend some money. If you don't mind me asking, Polar's ending, Elite War you're planning. What will the priorities for 425 look like these days?
Well, I mean, we all know that we're going to get Polar in 3 weeks, you know, so it's like,
For
it's
sure.
not like we're going to go long without it, you know. So if we're planning properly, there's nothing that's going to replace it, you know. We're going to probably blow a little bit of a bag in weeks 6 through 8 in Wasteland, depending on what those matchups look like, above and beyond whatever's going on in head of state, blah blah blah. So I think things are going to stay kind of status quo in 425. I mean, clearly GC's up there, so we want to keep, you know, those things. And we have players like Hawkage that blow 300 speeds in a preliminary round, you know. And so, like, you know, there's not going to be much change, you know, when it comes, you know, Polar, you know, being gone just for a few weeks. GC season's here, and you know, and you know, we got some stuff going on in GFK. We got 5 open seats, and Mental's not currently with us, so there's some stuff going on that we got to handle.
Yeah, I've been thinking about our priorities, and Wasteland kind of sucks, man. Like, I'm not really big on brainstorming for how Camel can fix the game. I don't think they listen. I don't think they care. I've heard some amazing ideas. I could tell you 3 off the top of my head. I don't think that Camel cares. I'm not going to waste your time. But I've been wondering about, like, what to prioritize these days. The tricky thing with Wasteland, though, is if you prioritize it, then people will show up and there's a chance of merit. And then you don't prioritize Elite
Chance. I
Four.
was just gonna say that.
Yeah, yeah.
You could very possibly get nothing, you know.
I got nothing last round because the other people didn't show up and I wanted to support my team. So I think I got 0. No, I teleported. I don't know. I think I parachuted for no reason just to get my bottom level merit, you know? But the problem is if you flip the priorities and you say we're going to play Elite War and we're not going to play Wasteland, you're definitely never getting any merit in Wasteland. So you end up with this weird problem of prioritize the better event. Elite War probably is my honest opinion.
Well, Elite War is definitely the better merit event for conversation's sake. And
Yes,
extra spending.
that's what
money.
I'm saying.
Mm.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, that is the better event for merit. But if you want to focus your alliance, no one's going to show up for Wasteland if you're prioritizing Elite War. But people will still show up for Elite War if you're prioritizing Wasteland because they want that free merit. So I'm struggling with this a little bit with 785 because we haven't lost in 24 Wastelands, which is a fun streak, but no one cares. Literally no one cares about Wasteland, and the matching is crazy. So our 24 win streak
You're gonna
is
say that until you get matched up against fucking, I don't know, somebody else that's gonna give you a run for your money. You know, so
no, but
it's
even if they give us 255 this week, I don't feel like I'm going to be upset. In fact, I'm going to tell the whole team, don't spend a dime. Let's just free play them. You know what I mean? So it seems like an event that's just broken because why play for maybe merit, but usually people don't show up. I don't know. It seems like something's off on that event. They have to fix it somehow.
Well, the problem is it's a spend event. You know, you don't get anything unless you spend money. You know, and I think that's the problem with Wasteland in general. It's because it's so blaring. Whereas the others are kind of hidden a little bit, and you can get some, you know, quote, free shit just by entering, you know, and playing with your team a couple of battles here and there. You know, you can usually get away from the event. Chaos Land, Iron Blood, you know, all of those things, you get a couple of things, you know, just by sending your troops out a couple of times. Wasteland that is not the case by far. You know, like you need to have engaged battles. There needs to be more than 7 of them. I think the number is for like the C36/37 player. You know, to get like the second tier of merit, which I believe is like 225 or something gay, maybe less. But the long and short of it is it's so blaring that you must spend to get some merit. And Polar's right behind it, quite frankly. I've always been a talky shit about Polar just because of the time, and speeds across the map and things like that. But it's a very similar predicament with Polar. The only advantage I think for Polar is, you can kind of add some extra troops in there, so you're not having to necessarily like heal and, all that craziness, weigh so much as I say Wasteland, I should say.
It might
I
not
think
be,
GC is more expensive, man.
It might not be the way we want it, but I guess Camel is doing something about it. For example, the new.
Well, yeah, because you got players like me and fucking Mental that'll literally port around, teleport, and put the devastation things or the fortification things on the towers with nobody in them, just to get our merit for the round. It sucks.
Yeah, I think Camel is trying, instead of trying to fix the current events to make them more engaging and stuff like that, it's focused on testing new events. Like, for example, the one similar to Royal Arena they launched for the 900s and down nations. That gives you 470 merit every single day for 7 days straight. So it might be a good place to get some merit from, but I guess they are experimenting with new events instead of fixing the current events we already have.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't
because they're
think-
trying to add more to the bottom line as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Royal Arena is engaging at all in terms of gameplay. I think it has, like, there's some value you can get out of it because you can get things for free. But, like, just having Camel auto run a battle at the end of a day, like, it doesn't strike me as very engaging. Like, there's no strategy. I guess there's formations and stuff, but not a lot of team strategy in that. Maybe there'll be more in that other event. I haven't actually played it, nor will I ever. But I just don't find that like auto run format to be super engaging. I think you milk those events for what you can get out of them in terms of free gold and free merit, and then after that, it's like, man, that doesn't hold much interest. But my opinion on that doesn't really matter anymore. So, what are you gonna do?
I agree, it's more engaging to have other types of battles than an automated thing, but if it's almost a free thing, because you don't need to spend to get those 400 merit every single day. So for the average and small spender player, it's a good source of merit. If nothing else, it gives you more than like two of the other events put together.
Completely agree with you. Like there's a lot of value in that one because you can get stuff without spending. You can get gold, like a pretty reliable source of gold from Royal Arena without spending any, no matter where you finish up individually in your rank. So yeah, I would like definitely milk it for what you can get out of it. But in terms of like gameplay, it just doesn't seem that engaging to me.
No, and it probably won't replace any of the events we were talking about. It's just another source of stuff. If you need that stuff, which I guess merit, everyone needs it.
I don't know if people know, but this stuff all adds up, and Royal Arena is not cheap. Like going for massive gold buffs is crazy. If you're in 425 and you're betting on LG just because of his amazing city, but he hasn't told you he's spending on gold buffs, you're making a terrible choice. Like those gold buffs are crazy in that event. I mean, everyone should play it. Everyone should free play it always for the free rewards. But that event's not cheap. And I don't play it. I'm not saying it's a good event. I'm not saying anyone should play it. I'm just saying it's not as cheap. I don't know. I don't think it's cheap at all.
I'm not sure how expensive it is, the new event that is based on the Royal Arena, because I didn't spend that much. If I spent like 7,000 gold, was already a lot. Apart from that, I haven't spent any money on that event, and I still got like 400 and something merit every single day. So if you go crazy and you start spending on that event, I don't know, maybe you can get more, but is it really worth it based on the money you spend?
I think it's a smart strategy from Camel. They should release more events just to let more and more nations dominate more and more events that are not that exciting. Like, let them get their money from suckers. I want to keep playing the fun events.
The difference for that event to the Royal Arena is that it's a nation-based event. So there's 5 rounds, and
That sounds worse.
the nation plays together. So
You're not-
you might win your battle, but lose that day because 4 other people in your alliance lost their battles.
You're not selling me on this event. This sounds terrible.
Well,
Yeah,
not
I'm
sure if
personally
it's
glad I
coming or
haven't
not.
seen that one yet, honestly.
I'm even not sure if it's coming or not. It showed up once. It seems like Camel was testing it. If it's gonna come or not, we'll see.
Fun stuff, fun stuff. Well, listen, guys, football's over. I think we had a good little pod here. I'm personally going to go ahead and hit the sack for the evening. Got 3 meetings on a federal holiday tomorrow morning. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off here. I hope you guys kill it for the rest of the night. Again, I apologize for not being here last week, but I think we kind of killed it tonight. So you guys have a great week and kick some ass in polo this week, Mr. Holbrook. We'll talk soon, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to take off as well, man. Have a good night, LG.
Later, guys.
Thanks. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
See you guys.